Is on the ground, loose ball, a big hit by T.J. Franklin, and the Bears have the football, and McClain is lit.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And interesting fake and look, it's a touchdown to Ben Sims. Just love the poise of this young quarterback.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Prescott rolling, going the other way, looking, going to run. He's in! Touchdown, Dallas.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Backfield for Bohannon. He'll throw it. Now steps up. Wants to run. Bohannon to the corner. Touchdown Bears. Feet don't fail me now. Gary Bohannon with his best rushing performance of the season.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go, this 3 o'clock hour, and I'm going to warn you ahead of time. I've got the hiccups again, so bear with me. Got a shot yesterday in the hip, and it had some lidocaine in it, and there you go. For some reason, that creates hiccups. I've blown into a brown paper sack.
That's for
had water
hyperventilating.
from a cup with a, well, that's supposed to. I've had a spoonful of sugar that makes whatever
The
go
medicine
around.
go down.
Yeah, okay. Jerome Tang today, introduced by Kansas State. We'll hear from the K-State AD, Gene Taylor, today at 3:45, and a couple of clips from Jerome. from today, a writer from Arkansas today as they open up. That's the first game, Arkansas Gonzaga. And the Sweet 16 is here. What a great time, huh? It's not the same. It is if it's your team. But is the Sweet 16 the same excitement on Thursday as it is last Thursday when the tournament begins?
I don't know. I mean, because there are, it's not all day. It's primetime television. I think the excitement of the first 2 days of the tournament is you're going to turn on the television at 11 o'clock, and then you're not going to stop watching basketball until 11 o'clock or midnight. I mean, it's just all-day basketball, and people sneak away from their office and go to sports bars at lunch. It's the first 2 days of the tournament are awesome. It's a sports holiday, and the Sweet 16 is fun, but the kind of random 2:30 p.m. basketball game you get is not happening.
No, it's not as exciting because there's not as many teams involved and not as many fan bases involved. It's not as exciting for us. The team we cover is not playing. So, I mean, yeah, last week we're talking about, hey, they're playing in this game and they're maybe playing this team. And, North Carolina. Well, now who are we previewing? Nobody. So, yeah, for us it's not as exciting because the team that we follow and the team that's in our backyard is no longer in it. But for 16 teams, it's still exciting. But, yeah, you eliminated, most of the field. So there's going to be a lot of fan bases who are just, happy to watch basketball, but I don't think that's a bad thing. It's like, I like Christmas better than New Year's, but Christmas and then New Year's is still cool. Like yep. New Year's has its, it's fun. So this is New Year's. And, the next one's going to be like the equivalent of, I guess, whatever other holiday as we whittle it down. And there will be less and less people that probably pay attention because their teams get knocked out. But that's just how it is, and by the end, we'll all be excited for whoever's in this national championship game, I'm sure. But that's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
Starts with Arkansas Gonzaga just after 6 o'clock as soon as we go off the air. There's two games on CBS, 6:09, Arkansas Gonzaga, and then the following game is Texas Tech and Duke, 3 against the number 2. And then at 6:29 on TBS, it's Michigan and Villanova, followed by the University of Houston, a future Big 12 team against top-seeded Arizona. So those are the 4 games that are going on today. Scotty Bordelon, who covers Arkansas, will join us at 6:30. Jerome Tang today was introduced as the head coach.
You said 6:30?
3:30.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, what?
6:30 maybe in Australia. I don't know. Jerome Tang, you have those Armstrong. Jerome Tang was introduced today, Baylor assistant for 19 years under Scott Drew and a part of the very opening of their rebuild, renovation, and then, of course, the national championship. Couple of quick comments from him as he was introduced. And the first one was his immediate goal. This is not like what he had to do when he arrived with Scott Drew. It is a lot quicker. He hopes the success that they'll have in Manhattan.
It is not going to take long. I didn't come to rebuild, right? Came to elevate. With that, go Cats!
All right, and we know him so well. And we hope to get him, once he gets settled in, does all his media in the Kansas area, Kansas State, Manhattan, Kansas City, etc. Also, this is something that you have heard a lot when you've heard about Baylor athletics, and at times it's been challenged depending on who the coach has been. But one of the things about the men's basketball team, yes, they had stars. Yes, Scott Drew is the star among the coaching staff. He would never say that. But it's all about the culture of joy, and it's about everybody matters. Whether you're someone that gets up at 4:30 or 5 to go check film, to have it ready for when the coaches get there in the morning, or you're the student managers, or you're the trainer, or you're the starting point guard. Whoever you are, it's about everybody in as one.
And then, of course, I want to thank the K-State family, the student body, the alumni, former players, alumni, and legend for allowing me the opportunity to steward your program. It's your program. This is not about me. It's about us. I have this quote on my desk that said, it's unlimited what you can accomplish when nobody cares who gets the credit, right? I don't care. I don't care who gets the credit. Let's just go accomplish it together. Let's just all roll up our sleeves and be the very best version of ourselves every day.
Yeah, we've seen that script before, and that's true, though. That's true with whether it is a talk show or an insurance company or whatever. There's going to be some that may get more attention, but as long as everybody's in it, and no matter who gets the credit, you're going to be successful.
Yeah, and you see that right there. What kind of, he's smooth. I mean, he is confident. He's ready. It was time. It could have been time about 6 or 7 years ago if he really wanted it to be and wanted to go a different path. But, I think if you scoured Kansas State message boards, you'd find like one guy's like, should have held out for Underwood. But, no, I think, and again, we're biased because we like Jerome so much here, but I think that, they made a fantastic decision. And what do you do when programs are successful? You go and try to find out what they're doing. What's the best way to do that? Hire their number one assistant. Bring that vibe to you and love what he's got going there already at Kansas State.
Yeah, I think K-State fans are in love. Based on what I've seen, they are thrilled for his hire and thrilled by what they've seen so far, and he's going to be great. I mean, I don't know how quickly he can elevate it, but he already sounds pretty confident in being able to do that. And as you see with the transfer portal, you can flip a roster overnight. I mean, look at Texas Tech. Baylor. Baylor has a ton of transfers. Go look at Tech's roster. Half their roster's transfers, right? Mm-hmm. Go look around the rest of the league, and you'll see that everywhere. And not only see teams like Tech and Baylor and others who have benefited from getting transfers and filling out their rosters with transfers, but also, having lost guys as well and others who have benefited off of that. So all that to say that you can flip a roster really quick. I mean, all it takes is him grabbing like one guy from Baylor, and I don't know how that's going to go because that's obviously going to be touchy territory, but, all it takes is grabbing one guy here and there, and, he hires Uric Malagi from Texas yesterday, who's a great recruiter, especially in the state. So I think they're going to hit Kansas hard. They're going to hit Texas hard. They're going to hit the whole country hard. And I think that they'll recruit well, hit that transfer portal, and, put together a really fine roster by the time this season rolls around next year. But, he's going to have, all these next few months to kind of get everything organized. And I'm sure he's been, sitting back in those times where he's got a little bit of free time, just kind of daydream. And when he dreamed about what it would be like when he ran his own program, I'm sure he's got, things ready to go and ready to implement already. So if I was a K-State fan, I'd be over the moon with this hire. It seemed like they need a little interjection of some energy too. And I think they're already getting that and they're feeling that. So that's good.
When we had Tim Fitzgerald on, who's of course covers Kansas State, and he had an interview today with Jerome Tang. He sent me a picture. Haven't had a chance to listen to it, but he's told me, based on everything he's seen on their boards and based on the reaction of everybody else that maybe covers Kansas State or others, he feels like there's 99.9% this is everyone all in. They love the hire. Now, you got to go win, but right now, Jerome Tang, they talk about, well, you won the press conference. He did that even before he stepped on the campus or flew in touchdown in Manhattan. And I got to tell you right now, it looks like he could go get in front of a church group and be just fine. As a preacher,
yeah,
he would be very comfortable, as would his audience.
And no offense to Bruce Weber, but you do need. It's not just about the X's and O's of basketball, which Jerome Tang will have, scores and scores of. I mean, that's not the issue, and the recruiting, which we'll do fine. I think to get fans energized, and again, not an offense to Bruce Weber, but he had kind of a cool high school algebra teacher vibe to him. Okay, yeah, we like Mr. Weber. He's awesome. On Fridays before spring break, we get to watch a movie. Like, that was kind of his vibe the last couple of years to me. And Jerome Tang brings you legitimate energy and excitement about the program that fans can get behind. And I think that's what they maybe lost a little bit with Bruce Weber, who has a good resume coaching. He's done a lot of good things, but sometimes it's just time. It was just time for Bruce Weber, and it's time for Jerome Tang to be a head coach and succeed on that level.
So basically, Matt Wells to Joey Maguire. Like, as far as a guy who's just kind of there and he's fine, he's okay, he's a good coach, he's nothing you can really complain about too much, but you're not like, you wouldn't go to war with him. You know, you wouldn't bat an eye too much if they said, "Oh, well, he's out of here." Whereas, now then Joey McGuire steps in and it's the let's goes and the hit recruiting, and you already see a marked difference in the Texas Tech football fan base, and I think you already see a marked difference in the Kansas State basketball fan base over just a couple of days. So yeah, like again, you just get that interjection of energy sometimes, and it can make a world of difference. And new is exciting, and look, we've seen plenty of fan bases celebrate new hires that turn out to be absolute disasters, like a month later, or months later, or years later. But I don't worry about that at all in this case. I think Jerome Tang's going to be great.
All right, from the chat room early, and again, Gene Taylor, Kansas State AD, he'll join us around 3:45. We appreciate them setting that up at Kansas State for us. Scotty Bordelon will discuss Arkansas today at around 3:30 on their game with Gonzaga. That thing will tip off at 6:09. And then also in the 4 o'clock hour, theathletic.com, the website, did a Big 12 survey. A Big 12 survey on the football conference, both Texas and Oklahoma on their way out, but also still a part of it. They also included fan bases that follow Brigham Young and Cincinnati and University of Houston and UCF and others. And there's some really interesting survey results, and we'll have Max on today to discuss it. Guess who has flipped from what the bottom of the pile is being respected as the best head coach to the very top? Guy named Dave Aranda. He and Mike Gundy. Gundy gets a lot of attention as well, but we'll have some of those poll results for you today at 4 o'clock.
I think a lot of people, and I'm not discounting myself in this a little bit, I think thought Mike Gundy was a bit of a rube. At times. I kind of got that vibe off him sometimes, that he was just a kind of a good old boy football coach that, he knew mostly what he was doing, but when it came to actually taking the step to take a step back and go, what's keeping Oklahoma State from really being a contender in this conference, I thought that maybe he wasn't that guy, and last year knocked a lot of that out for me.
I mean, yeah, it should. I mean, look, they were one play away from going and playing in the playoff, basically. So, yeah, I mean, I think, when he had that whole Bobby Reed, I'm a man, I'm 40 situation, I think that kind of set him back a little bit in terms of maybe the way that people viewed him, because it kind of became sort of a joke thing. But I don't know. I think anybody who knows football knows Mike Gundy's a pretty good head coach. And, yeah, he might have been, because he went from, like, the Bobby Reed, I'm 40 thing, kind of got over that, although that lingered a while. Still, you still hear that, like, randomly sometimes. And then he became, like, Mr. Mullet Man. And he's, like, Mr. Cowboy, and kind of, became, I don't know, much more viewed. Like, I just saw a lot more of them on Twitter, and then there was the OAN thing, and it's like, so it's been kind of a weird journey with Mike Gundy, like little points along the way. But I mean, he's a hell of a football coach, and he just had that big bad wolf in the same state that was sitting there winning really big games for a long time right next to him and kind of overshadowing him there for a while. So once they took a little bit of a step back last year, he got that spotlight, deservedly so, and it's just unfortunate for him that they couldn't really do what they could have potentially have done with that spotlight. But they're going to be, pretty well loaded up this year. I know they lose some good players, but they bring a lot of good guys back, and I'm sure they'll be very, very hungry with the results of last year. So I expect them to be right there at the top of the mix.
Well, we'll discuss that with Max today at 4. Mickey Spagnola on what we've seen this week with the NFL, including what he thinks about what the next Cowboys move might be, if it is at all. And then also John Gallagher, the head basketball coach, our great friend at Hartford. He will join us at 5 today. John Gallagher on the NCAA tournament. He said, you give me any of the 16 or the 8 games, I'll break them down. He'll join us today at 5 to break down every game of the Sweet 16. Craig's off the radar right before that, Paul's top 5. And also, Jack McKenzie normally is just not a fan of mine, doesn't like me much. But today I'm paying attention that United States Soccer and Mexico in a critical match, not game, Paul, match in soccer tonight that has a lot to do with qualifying for the World Cup at the end of the year.
And where
Will Parchman will join us on that at 5:30.
All right, what do they play on in soccer?
What?
What do they play on? What's the name of
it's called like the score or something.
It's a
like
pitch.
That.
The pitch.
Yeah, that same thing.
See, there we go. Look, Jack's mad at you again.
He's
He went in the bathroom
mad.
because he couldn't
didn't want to have
stand
to
it.
hear him.
Oh, he's right there. Never mind.
One of the other things,
we weren't even looking.
where did Armstrong go? Now, one thing about Mike Gundy as well, and, Oklahoma State's had some good coaches along the time, but, Pat Jones had a good run. Jimmy Johnson started his career there basically as a head coach, and, Simmons was a disaster. Les Miles, okay, until he went to LSU. He was okay at Oklahoma. But Mike Gundy has won consistently now for almost 2 decades at Oklahoma State. Nobody's ever done that, and not many people have ever been there that long in the first place. If you look back at the history of their football program that started back in the early, I think even maybe the year of 1900. All right, so that's going to be at 4. Looking forward to Max breaking down some of the survey results. Best coach, worst coach, overrated, that and that. And one of the surveys was, if in fact the Big 12 does have an expansion, outside of the one that they're going to have in the summer of 2023 and whatever happens as far as the timeline with Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF, if in fact they went deeper, if they do, who were the favorites? And they added and they said you can include Arizona and Arizona State, not knowing anything, but just in case, and those were the 2 highest rated teams. As you can imagine, I think they would be. But some of the more familiar names we've talked about were a part of that as well.
That's interesting.
Yep.
It's interesting to include them. When we were talking about all the realignment stuff in its heyday about a year ago, that was the dream scenario if you were the Big 12 somehow. Just if you're throwing ideas out there, knowing that the dream scenario would not include keeping Oklahoma and Texas or bringing A&M or somebody back like that, I'd say what's the far-fetched idea that could actually make some sense but probably not likely? It would be adding those 2 Arizona schools. So it's interesting that they included them.
Chat room, Aaron Anderson off the top, and Aaron's been busy today. Please do not talk about football like other shows right now. Nobody gives a damn about football in March. And Aaron, I responded to you. We're a family. We will agree to disagree. We've already talked about football. The 4 o'clock hour is a lot of football.
I think he's referring to the number of sports personalities that are talking zero basketball right now and acting like it's just all about the NFL. Yeah. I think that's what he's referring to.
Our first hour will be about Arkansas, Gonzaga, and also the AD who just hired Jerome Tang, about a basketball coach. Also, Scotty B saying that Satia Messer, former Baylor assistant who's now at LSU with Kim Mulkey's name has come up as at least a candidate at Georgia to replace Joni Taylor, who is now at Texas A&M. And again, that's just a name.
Well, she's been kind of waiting on her own for a while.
Hall of Famer in Arkansas, yeah.
I mean, she's been on that Kim staff for quite a while now. So, yeah, I mean, if you're looking at a women's version of somebody who was around here that's probably due or pretty close to being due for a job, I'd say, yeah, Satia Messer's probably in that mix. Yeah.
We've had her on the show 2 or 3, 4 times in most years, and she was always very good.
And we didn't mention A&M. I mean, I think you mentioned hiring Joni Taylor.
Yesterday
but, I
did, yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't really stop, I don't even think, and not that we need to discuss it at length, but, that's So opening up the checkbook again, go get the dream team coaching roster, right? Like, we need a basketball coach. Let's go get Buzz Williams. We need a football coach. Let's go get Jimbo Fisher. We need a women's basketball coach. Let's get Joni Taylor.
Who
we need
just
a baseball
gotten about
coach.
$1 million raise at Georgia.
We need a baseball coach. Let's go get TCU's, Schlossnagle.
Yep.
So, yeah, having fun with that checkbook down there in College Station. But, hey, if you got it, flaunt it, and that's a good hire.
Mike Bean, put a straw across your mouth, take a drink of water. It gets rid of hiccups every single time. Okay, thank you very much, Mike. I'll do that during the break. Let me see here from Smalls. Looking forward to it, David. He's looking forward to the Arkansas segment at 3:30. From Gary Lewis, likely all 3 college basketball squads from out west get eliminated, he thinks, tonight and tomorrow. Gonzaga, Arizona, and UCLA. UCLA has who?
Well, they have St. Mary's also from out west.
St. Peter's.
UCLA has St. Mary's.
Huh?
Purdue is playing St. Peter's.
Who? UCLA is playing who?
St. Mary's.
Oh, okay.
They're from Moraga, California, so they're also out west.
Yeah, he didn't mention them.
Yeah.
From Anderson, Tang is a perfect fit for Kansas State. Biscuits and Gravy is 365 Radio going to put together a barbecue team for the spring game. Yeah, by the way, Blake Blackmar, former Baylor offensive lineman who's unbelievable. He now has his own podcast about cooking. What he does is insane. He's done it for us a couple of times here. He's going to have a huge tailgate deal going on during the spring game in April. And I've already asked to be a judge, Paul. They've already asked you to be a judge as well.
Yes, listen, Smokey and I both are pretty darn good cooks, but when you see the opportunity to take a step back and not work and enjoy, you take it.
You know what? Tyreek Hill went from Patrick Mahomes to Tua, right?
Yeah.
Well, when Blake Blackmar entered it, we went from we're Tua, Maybe.
Yeah.
And he's Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Something didn't sound right to me. UCLA plays North Carolina.
You said, okay. Yeah.
St. Mary's in the tournament.
They're done.
That's right. They're done. Okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to correct. That sounded.
That's why I kept saying St.
They
Peter's.
played him the other day. Yeah,
that's right.
Last game.
From Marcus, I think Tech for sure has a chance tonight. I do too. From Debbie, I think Tech might get blitzed.
I'm picking Tech tonight.
I'm picking Tech to win.
Yeah, I'm picking Tech. I'm picking. I don't know why, but I'm just on this Tech train to the national championship game. I don't know why. I'm on that ride with them, and I'm not pretending like I'm donning red and black and gonna be putting my guns up or anything like that. But just. They got a really good roster, man, and I know that there's things about them that aren't quite perfect. But just so long as they don't get like that busy whistle, I think that Tech's got a chance to win this whole thing.
Duke is 26-3, Scotty, with a great stat when they get 70 or more. And the question is, I don't think they will.
I was going to say.
I mean, if they do, they'll probably win because Tech, as good as they are on defense at times, they've had to score a lot of points in that game with Kansas. But that's not what they want to do. Yeah, they want to score a lot of points if they can, but their style is to keep that thing in the 60s, 50s, and maybe in the lower 70s. Let me see here.
I'm curious if we're going to get that.
Go ahead.
I'm curious if we're going to get that Kansas-Iowa State matchup in the Elite Eight. I mean, that's entirely possible if they both win.
Would that not just be unbelievable?
You know what? It would be unbelievable, but I honestly don't think either of them would want.
Probably not.
If they had to pick it, they're probably rooting against each other because the last thing, if you're a Big 12 team, you want to see is another Big 12 team, no matter what the other two games were like. I think.
Aaron explaining his football, not wanting to hear anything about it. And I like you guys, not a knock on you all. It just grinds my gears to hear football when the season is 6 months away. The thing about college football in the NFL is it's not 6 months away. NFL is now a 12-month-a-year sport, and they've done a great job of putting the calendar together with that. And college football is now, it's not as big now, but spring drills starting all throughout the country. We'll have coaches on over the next several weeks as well, including talking about that Big 12 survey today at 4. Also, JG, Smokey, it's called a pitch. Let's see here. Mike Game, soccer sucks. Sorry, Paul, Jack. My pastor says soccer is a communist sport. I'm not a big soccer fan, but
sounds like
fun.
He's got a good pastor.
I'm not a big soccer fan, but it's fun to have MLS team in Austin right now.
I'm curious as to why soccer is communist. Like what his explanation would be.
Yeah, I mean, some people may think cricket is. I don't know. All right, here we go. Mike, final one. Duke will have more free throws made than their opponents have free throws attempted, just like last game. And Purdue had 4 times as many free throws as Texas had in their game in their win in the round of 32. Sick on 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Cars priced right both day and night at Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue at Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room at Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust at Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Scotty Bordelon, WholeHogSports.com, covers Arkansas. He has been a guy we've gone to many times during the season about Arkansas basketball, Eric Musselman and what they've done. And they open up the Sweet 16 with Gonzaga at just after 6 o'clock on CBS. Scotty joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Scotty, the SEC was good at the top. They had teams up and down as far as, teams that looked like they could make a run. Auburn, one of them, among others. Tennessee. We know Alabama was schizophrenic, and at times Arkansas maybe. Why are they the team remaining in the SEC?
That's a really good question. I think you could probably start at the top with Eric Musselman. And, I was on another show earlier today and just thinking about just kind of I don't know if mastermind is the right word in terms of game preparation and game planning and scheming and things like that. But I think it's kind of fitting as you look back at, think about his coaching experience at various levels of the game. And, after Arkansas beat New Mexico State to move to the Sweet 16, Eric, after the game, said that, he found some notes from his days coaching in the NBA, when he was game planning for Kobe Bryant, and they used, some of the things that they did in that game against Teddy Allen, and they pretty much took him out of that game. He had 12 points on 16 shots. After he goes for 37 in a game, that's about as good as you could do right there. And I think I've talked to you guys about this before. It's just the defense, just the commitment to that end, the toughness and the physicality. And, the defense, I think, has been really the hallmark of this team, just because they can be, not the easiest watch on offense sometimes.
You mentioned the defense, and this is a team that has, they beat an Auburn team earlier this year. They beat Tennessee. They've beaten tournament teams before. Their non-conference, I know, was nothing to write home about, Scotty, but how do you see them really matching up with a Gonzaga team that can score at will when they're hot?
Yeah, I think that's the big key. And, yesterday morning when Arkansas was doing their shoot around and their practice in Chase Center, Eric Musselman was, he was really hammering home the importance of Arkansas getting back in transition. Gonzaga averages, I think, 15 fast break points a game, and if Gonzaga, I think, gets to that number today, I don't think it'll be a close game whatsoever. You just can't give a team that is that high powered offensively just, buckets within, the first 5, 6, 7 seconds of the shot clock. That'll be a killer. Arkansas, they just can't afford to do that with some of the struggles they've had offensively. I think it's going to be really interesting to see who matches up with Chet Holmgren. Like, I just don't think that Arkansas has got, maybe the ideal defensive matchup for him, but, across college basketball, like, who really is. But I think we'll probably see Stanley and Mude on him. That would be my guess. Stanley, throughout the regular season, I've tracked shots defended, and Stanley allowed his opponents to shoot 30% from the floor, which is an outrageous number, and then I think 24% from three when he was the nearest defender to that shot. And he's got, he's bouncy, he's a really good athlete. He's pretty long, and he's done a really good job since the early part of the season of, moving his feet defensively. He doesn't get beat off the dribble. I don't think you're really necessarily super worried about that with Holmgren. But I think if Chet does try to put the ball on the floor against Stanley, he's kind of stout enough, more well put together. He should be able to handle that. I think the biggest matchup really, though, is just Jalen Williams on Drew Timme. Timmy's just super crafty. Probably the best. I would say he's probably the best big at Arkansas's faced, just, purely from an offensive standpoint. That's the matchup I'm watching. Those are the two big personalities on these teams, and it's going to be really fun to just kind of watch them go head to head.
So, Scotty, I was reading around. It seems like Jalen Williams knows too, like that's the matchup that everybody's looking at, right? Like he seems excited for that one.
Oh yeah, we asked him about that yesterday, and he probably mentioned that he's played some really talented bigs before, in the league. Like, he's gone head to head with Walker Kessler, Oscar Tshiebwe. Like, he's faced some guys that they just don't really have comps. But I don't know that there is a comp for Drew Timme either. Like, you look at an All-America team released in the last month, and you bet your bottom dollar he's going to be on it. But Jalen's, he's on the All-SEC defensive team. He's a pretty good rim protector, I would say. I mean, he leads Arkansas in blocks, but he protects the rim in a different way, just, taking 50 charges this year. And he's pretty good. He's got pretty good hands. He can move his feet all right. I think he's just got to settle in at a certain point. And, Drew Timme's going to hit shots much more often than not. So, I mean, Jalen, I think he might have to, weather a couple shots, but I think he's a guy that can give them right back too.
How much did last year's run that ended against Baylor, how much did that in any way kind of help them into the offseason to kind of get close but know they had to get better?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I've heard there's 3 guys on this team that, played against Baylor last year, and I think it fueled them in a way. And I think, speaking for Jalen Williams and J.D. Note specifically, I think that game opened those guys' eyes to, like, what they have to improve on as players. And, for the most part, Jalen's been, terrific the second half of the season offensively. He wasn't a scoring threat last year when those teams played. And J.D. was, I mean, Arkansas just took a shot in the mouth from Baylor last year, I remember, but J.D. was like the one guy that Arkansas had that could go get his own shot. And that was one of those games where J.D. was sizzling hot. I mean, he's had a stretch here lately where he's like, I think 3 for his last 22 from 3, but I mean, that Baylor game, I think, was a perfect example of JD just being able to get hot at really opportune times. And, I think he's just kind of focused on his conditioning and, trying his best to stay out of foul trouble. He's had some issues with that too, but I think just the experience they gained from that, they're still carrying that into this game. And I think just the fact that you're going up against, another number 1 seed, like you've kind of been in that position before, different environment, obviously, a lot more fans in the building. But I don't think this is a game that any of those guys that played against Baylor last year, I wouldn't assume that they're going into this one fearful at all.
You got jet lag?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. I'm still not used to the time difference. That's been a killer.
Yeah, well, I know you've gotten a little bit of sleep, and now you got a game and then the post and all that, and maybe there for more than just tonight and more than just one day or two. Have fun, Scotty. Appreciate your time throughout the year, and maybe, depending on what happens this weekend, we'll be in touch again next week.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you. That's
Appreciate y'all.
Scotty Bordelon, WholeHogSports.com, covers Arkansas as they start it all tonight, the Sweet 16. It's Arkansas Gonzaga, 6:09 on CBS. When we come back, Jerome Tang today introduced as the new men's basketball coach at Kansas State. We played a couple of those audio clips of him. Gene Taylor, the AD at Kansas State. And when you think about the Big 12 and what they were able to do when they had all of a sudden a story that landed in their lap with Oklahoma and Texas leaving for the SEC whenever that might be, the ADs at places like K-State, Baylor, Iowa State, TCU, Texas Tech, among others, had to go, what the hell are we going to do? And guess what? They found a way. And Gene Taylor about Jerome Tang and about the Big 12. Kansas State Athletic Director joins us next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Marco's Pizza, 4 locations, about to be 5 in Waco. 4 right now and about to be 5. 3 just a few months ago. They added the one in Robinson, just off of Loop 340 and Highway 6. It's a great location just off the access road. Bob Mock is the owner. And again, Marco's Pizza with China Spring, Woodway, Belle Meade, and now Robinson, and a new location they're building in Hewitt as well that gives them even better and more efficient, quicker access and delivery to the southern part of Waco, all the way even into Lorena. Right now, the Pepperoni Magnifico. Enjoy a large for $9.99 using the code PEPMAG. Unlimited medium 1-topping pizzas, $7.99 each. Unlimited 2-topping pizzas, large, $8.99 each. It's not just pizza. Wings, sandwiches, salads, and so much more. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Been a happy day, been a happy week in Manhattan, Kansas. I guess the best thing, if you're not in the tournament, is having someone like Jerome Tang become your men's basketball coach. And it's been a whirlwind. And then today he was introduced to the great fans in Manhattan. And the AD, Gene Taylor, Kansas State, we appreciate his time, joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Gene, did you knew this would be popular. You mentioned that. Everyone here knew that as well. Has it even been more popular than you could have ever imagined, the introduction of Jerome Tang?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. First of all, fellas, great to be on. A lot of people, the staff that had a chance to meet him before we introduced him, just kept saying what a great job he did and how it was better than they anticipated, even knowing who he was when they met him. Just really wowed everybody from media to fans to donors to you name it. He really knocked it out of the park today.
What was the interview process like with him? I mean, we know him well. I can probably imagine and guess it pretty well, but curious to how Jerome Tang is in a job interview.
Well, he's obviously very passionate and very energetic. We met him for about an hour when in Kansas City, and he walked in, and just his presence was strong. His confidence was there. He sat down. He really felt comfortable talking to him. Easy guy to kind of get to like. And he walked out of the room, and I said, "All right, guys, that's the bar. If anybody can get above it, then we know we have our." And nobody really did. And we had some really good candidates. But really, what nailed it is at his home on Sunday. Just his knowledge of basketball, just what he believes in, how he wants to run a program. Again, his personality came through again even more because we were there longer in a comfortable setting for him. He had video up, and he's up there Xing and Oing. And I was probably 30 minutes into the conversation, the 3-hour conversation. I had kind of made up my mind at that point, but he was good. He was even today, same deal. His passion, his energy, his love for K-State. Obviously, his love for Baylor is very, very strong. But how much he enjoyed, being introduced today as the next basketball coach at K-State was very real.
This is obviously a very big decision, one that you couldn't take very lightly, and one that you needed to feel like you got right. And Bruce Weber did some great things, but he decided to move on. You guys are moving on. And just what was kind of your thought process as that change was occurring in terms of what you were looking for out of your next head coach, and what kind of your desires and your vision of the program was, and how did Jerome Tang fit that?
Well, you said it. Bruce is a quality person, quality coach. Obviously, a lot of the characteristics that he had. How he ran a program, his ethics, how he treated student athletes. A lot of the things that we wanted in a coach started there. And Jerome certainly met that from everything that I had done from the research and what I've heard about him. But just his energy to take us to the next step, right? What is the next step? Sustained success and programs that, play a basketball style a certain way that's energetic for our fans, defensively, offensively, and it just everything that I've said this to a few people. His fingerprints are all over in my opinion, that Baylor program. Now, certainly Scott Drew is a leader and has done a heck of a job in the other assistants, but building that together like they did from where it was to where it is today, you learn a lot. And to me, that's what we needed. Not that we're a broken program, because we're not. I think we got a lot of good things in place, but we needed to just kind of take it to the next level, and I think he's absolutely the guy to get us there.
Yeah, I love how he said elevate, not rebuild, but elevate. Gene,
yeah.
Are there a lot of similarities, in your opinion, to Kansas State and Baylor as far as the town, the city, and just the departments?
I think so. I mean, I feel pretty familiar. Mac's a friend of mine, and just watching how he runs the program, and I've had some friends that have worked in the department. It feels that way. People really care about Baylor, and they care about the colors and the green and white. They have a great pride in that program, and that's very similar here to the K-State fans of how much pride they have. And it feels that way. When you go in their arena, they're all, that they're fans that love Baylor, and I think we have the same thing here at K-State.
You have a football coach in Chris Kleiman who is a very passionate players coach. Jerome Tang the same way. Obviously, leadership and you and the president and everybody that's going to be there, wants the same kind of thing. But how important is to have, not similarity, but synergy between athletic programs and coaches who all kind of approach things in that kind of way?
Well, in my opinion, it's critically important. The coaches support each other, right? And that's certainly what we've had. Chris, I took Coach Tang up just a little while ago up to the football offices. Coach Kleiman wanted him to come up. He introduced him to all the staff. There was a lot of conversation. And, he did say this in his interview. He's a big football guy. Apparently, he spent a lot of time on the Baylor football practice field. And, Coach Rule and Chris are good buddies, and they talked about it. So, and that's good, and that's what we need. Our baseball coach supports football, and our women's basketball coach supports men's basketball, and that's what makes all programs successful if we're all in it together, kind of, promoting the same thing and the same, qualities and the same belief, and he's going to add to that in a big way, no question.
Now that you mentioned it, I seem to recall, what was the spring game last year where he and Scott Drew were opposing play callers? Yeah.
He told that story today. That he knew Scott was going to go deep, so he blitzed, and he felt he won the play call, and that's what he said. So.
Well, for you guys, got to hope he still is able to predict that way when they meet up. That'll come in handy for sure. You have been in the Big 12 now for, around 5 years. How would you summarize those 5 years being in the Big 12?
It's been great. Obviously, it got a little crazy there about a year ago.
It did?
Our friends, we've got a couple of new ones now. The presidents, really care about this league. I think it's one of the best leagues in the country, and in some of our, top sports, and across the board, in my opinion. But I've just been really pleased in how well we work together. And even through last year, as tumultuous as it was, we came together, the 8 remaining institutions, and found a way to work through it. Bob did a great job leading us through it. We've got, in my opinion, 4 really good schools coming in. So even though it's been kind of up and down, I think there's a bright future ahead for all of us in what we have going forward as we move, the next few years, the craziness of name, image, and likeness and television contracts and all that stuff. I think we're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, it's to me, I'm not going to say it was a miracle, because at late July when that story popped, I'm sure there's a lot of people that had some restless nights, even fan bases, much less if you're the director of athletics, and we have Mac on almost every week, and I remember that time. Were you surprised that you were able to, the entire conference, those remaining and Bob Bowlesby, turn it around as quickly as you did to get those 4 into the future, at least starting in 2023 and beyond?
I was initially, honestly, like you said, there were some sleepless nights, and, as there was the conversations about who's going to go to another conference, we were one of the schools that kind of weren't mentioned, and it makes you, wait a minute here. We were worried, but the more we talked to Bob, he had a plan. He obviously had been, obviously he was unaware like everybody else, but I think he went to work right away and got on the phone. And I'll be honest with you, the minute that broke, 2 of the ADs in that league were already calling me. So I kind of knew we might have a chance, and Bob did a great job. And the more I listened to our conversations, I felt pretty confident we were going to be able to pull in some really good schools, and we did. And hats off to him and the ADs for sticking together. That was my biggest thing. Guys, we have to stick together. We can't be panicking. We're better together as eight, and let's see who we can bring in, and it worked out very well.
Even though some enrollments are larger than others, Iowa State, Kansas State, Baylor, TCU, there's a lot of common there. Some two private schools, yes, but to me it seemed like that was the only way. Even Texas Tech, a larger campus, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, but it seemed like all of you had to look at the same way, like, hey, we need everybody to be one here. No one can go pop off to another conference and that thing would just die.
And that was what we talked about, is that if somebody got nervous and thought, well, I can go into this conference or that conference, we were going to fall apart. And we knew we were too good of a conference to do that. And we began to believe that after talking to each other and staying on the Zoom call back then and letting us work through the system. And we all kind of said, hey, I'm getting calls from so-and-so. It wasn't like, we weren't going to find schools. And I think we realized we're better together. We were able to do that. And then bring in what I think is probably the cream of the crop of the schools that were out there that we're looking to get into the Power Five. And I think they're ready. You look how the success they're having this year.
We talked about it a lot, and it's the Big 12 is a conference that's trying to grow and grow new things and not just rehash old brands.
Absolutely. And that's what I like, and we're actually having some conversations about rebranding, which clearly we. And you can't deny that the Texas brand, the OU brand are big, but I think the brand of the Big 12 and the success that we've had, we're going to continue with that. I mean, we've had, almost every year we've had somebody in the Final Four in college football, and look what we've done in basketball the last few years, and in women's basketball, and you guys have won both a men and women's basketball championship, and baseball is one of the best conferences in the country. So we just know we're really good. And I think that brand can continue to get better with the 4 new schools, in my opinion, without question.
During one random search I was doing on YouTube one day, I came across your Ask the AD segment that you guys put out. And I know you've been doing that kind of semi-regularly, I suppose, for a couple of years now. And we obviously have Mac Rhodes on a pretty much a weekly basis where you can kind of talk about Baylor athletics. How maybe therapeutic or informational is being able to do and Ask the AD and just, have that message out there from you to your fan base on a regular basis?
I really enjoy it because when I got here, John Curry had been doing kind of a monthly newsletter, and I'm a terrible writer. Like I don't want to sit there and do that. And so we started it. We try to do it monthly. Sometimes with busyness and everything, we don't get quite that out there. But we open it to the fans for some questions. We try to keep it about 10 to 12 minutes, and I've gotten really good feedback. And we try to hit topics that they're concerned about, and sometimes they're national. Sometimes they're more local within our department. So we really try to give them updates, but also answer questions they have. And I enjoy it. Our staff enjoys it, and our fans seem to really enjoy it as well.
Just got a text from Mac Rhodes. Gene Taylor has been terrific. He is professional. And I think that's, as you mentioned, you guys both know each other very well, and some of you guys that have stuck together along the way. You are also a part of the college football expansion. Our college football playoff committee. Is there a little frustration? I know Bob Bowlesby's been frustrated with the lack of whatever's going on. Has that gone slower than you think, or you thought?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, obviously I'm not on that decision. That's a different group, clearly. But to me, I think it's best for college football. And as I sit on the committee last year for the first time, and you get down those last couple of weeks, and you're trying to put 4 teams in the finals and 25 total. And we're talking 6-7 schools that you're really considering. Imagine if you had 12. You'd have 30 schools that their fan bases would be energized about, hey, we have a chance to be in the playoffs, the players. And it brings so much more energy to college football that's already very high. And I am frustrated. I wish they could have worked through it and got it done sooner. I think we eventually will. It's just not going to happen before 2026. And I think some of the reasons they're not wanting to expand, whether it's commissioners or whoever in the group, to me don't make sense right now, because you're not going to be able to. We didn't have all the answers when we expanded to 4. We expanded to 4, it worked out, we figured it out. I think that's what needs to happen, is let's expand, figure it out, and then continue to move forward. But apparently it's not going to happen until 2026 now.
Gene, we know that the timeline of Brigham Young is 2023, and at the other schools, it could be as early as then, depending on what they can do to get out of the American Conference. And we don't know the timeline yet on when Texas and Oklahoma will actually leave, no matter what they're saying. In the end, would you like to see the new 12 gain some ground, have some stability for a year or 2 or 3? And is there ever a thought that the Big 12 would go beyond that, or is that too soon to think about?
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's never too soon. I think what we'd love to do is get the 4 in, and whether we're 14 for a couple of years and back to 12. Either one. But I think we want to establish ourselves. But I won't say you never say never, right? I would have felt we were sitting there pretty comfortable that Texas and Oklahoma wouldn't go. But so you got to be prepared, and you have to keep ready and be nimble. And I think we've got to get these 4 schools in here, get some schedules established and get some championships established, and then continue to consider other options out there. That's my opinion. That's not anything that Bob said publicly or within our meetings, but I think we have to stay nimble and be ready to react and continue to build this conference in a big way.
I want to tie it up with this. We brought you on, and we appreciate you talking about some Big 12 business as well. But today, Jerome Tang was introduced, and we'll have him on eventually. I'm telling you, you know this. He's just incredible. When was the first time you ever met him? Was it when you were in Kansas City?
Yeah, the day he walked in. I mean, I watched him coach because I've heard his name, but I've never, even had a chance to say hello. But when he walked into our room there in Kansas City, his presence, and I'm like, I like the guy immediately. And by the way, tell Mac, I'm sorry I didn't, I haven't paid him for all the compliments. I'll tell him I'll get the same thing a little bit later.
Believe me, he has it on the agenda. Believe me, I know that. Yeah, he will do that. How much does having someone like Jerome Tang or someone like Chris Kleiman and others, what's it like to have them on campus to help the entire university, not just the athletic department or their program?
Well, we have a brand new president. He's been here maybe 3 weeks, and he's very excited about that because it helps recruit students. We've been in a downward trend a little bit here in general student admissions, and he sees these 2 guys in our athletic program having an opportunity to continue to increase that, and it brings a lot of energy. It brings a lot of energy to the students and our fans and our donors, and so it does affect a lot more than just athletics. And certainly they understand that, and they want to help. They want to help across campus as well. And having a guy like Jerome stand up like he did today, it just adds to the energy we have right now within our athletic program.
Gene, thank you very much for your time. We do appreciate it. Congratulations on the hire. He has been someone that people have wanted for a few years, and you got him. It's great to see Jerome Tang get that job he's wanted as well. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on, and tell Mac he's the greatest guy in the whole world.
He's going to give me he wants your PayPal number. I just
No, he's great, and we're good friends, and I appreciate Mac a ton.
Thank you very much. Gene Taylor, athletic director at Kansas State. They are thrilled with the Jerome Tang hire and where they're moving athletically as well. When we come back, speaking of the Big 12, Max Olson, theathletic.com, will join us on their big-time survey they did involving the Big 12. Now and moving forward, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. If you're building something you know already about Pioneer Steel and Pipe, 2 locations in Waco and Bryan, brand new location they're building that's going to make them even bigger, better, faster, stronger, and they have been in business. Still hard to imagine since 1943. But not hard to imagine if you know them. Not hard to imagine if you've ever been a customer or you know the families that run the business. They're fantastic. Pipe and steel and metal. Heavy-duty product. And they've been doing that since 1943, no matter the ups and downs, no matter COVID. And now they're going to get bigger, better, faster, and stronger because that then allows them to be better for you, the customer. Whether it's real estate, commercial, or if you live on a farm and a ranch and you have a lot of stuff you're building or an entryway, whatever it might be, that's what they do. Commercial and real estate. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Think about it. Since 1943 in business for almost 8 decades. And you better have great product and customer service And they do at pioneerboys.com.
At Allen Samuels, come see the Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 with 2.9% for 72 months, plus $1,500 in bonus cash. For all first responders, get an extra $500. Shop this incredible vehicle that gives you performance, style, perfect for your family, and reliability your family deserves today from Allen Samuels in Waco. Come shop our huge inventory at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Corral pumps. Pressure again, and they get to him. That was Cole Maxwell.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Went to Boozer's today, dropped off a Michael Kors watch, and it had a cracked face on it, and they're going to fix it up, get it moving at Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco. Max Olson, theathletic.com. He's been breaking down a survey of over 1,500 Big 12 fans, those incoming schools and also the ones who are a part of it right now. Max, thanks for your time. This is fun. I looked at it. It's interesting to see how things change. There were many questions. Was there any answer or two or result or two that maybe popped out more to you than others?
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. It was a very wide-ranging survey. Obviously it was a hell of a year in 21, so I wanted to give Big 12 fans, not just, of the remaining 8, but then also Texas and Oklahoma and of the 4 incoming members, chance to kind of weigh in on the future of the conference, what they're concerned about, what they're expecting in 2022 and beyond. I think the one that maybe got my attention a little more is I threw it out there to fans. If the Big 12 expanded again here, in the few years or in the future, which schools would you prefer? And that was kind of a, choose all that apply, whoever you want. And I put Arizona and Arizona State in there because I was curious just how actually interested, Big 12 fans would be in trying to make a move like that here down the road. And, more than 60% of them would be interested in those schools in terms of the voters. And then after that, in terms of, the G5 candidates that you kind of usually hear about, I was interested to find that more Big 12 fans would actually be interested in Boise State joining the conference than SMU.
Max, Neil Brown did not fare well with his fan base, but neither did Sonny Dykes, and he hasn't coached a game. I mean, I guess 6.6 out of 10. Did that surprise you a little bit that Sonny Dykes didn't register well on the excitement meter?
Yeah, we asked these fans, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate how happy you are with your head coach right now? And obviously, if you're like a Cincinnati fan, Luke Fickell's pretty close to 10 in terms of what he's done. And right now at Oklahoma and Texas Tech, both of their new head coaches scored over a 9 because they're, those fan bases obviously, for a lot of reasons are just super fired up about the direction they're seeing so far here in the past few months. And, with Sonny Dykes, I think it's a little bit more wait and see from TCU fans. I don't know if that's the nature of, this guy used to be our rival, our crosstown rival, and now he's switching sides. I think, certainly when I read the comments from those voters, some of them still, have some feelings about, the way things went down with Gary Patterson. And I think part of it is just a lot of people saying, let's just kind of see how things go here. It seems like he's, doing the right things in terms of staff and recruiting and community outreach and all that to fit the job. So I think that I don't think that's an unfair score to give a coach that was just hired, give him a 6 out of 10. But certainly interesting to see how he wins over TCU fans.
And with Neil Brown, Max, not very big votes of confidence here. I mean, he's not entering year one. He's entering, nearly a handful of years now. I mean, how much do you think that temperature's kind of rising in Morgantown? Not necessarily from the AD and all that, but just the fans kind of seeing moves being made around the conference even and just wanting to be excited as well.
Yeah, I think that was interesting to see those results. I mean, obviously, we were able to survey more than 1,500 people, but it's ultimately, I think it was like less than 100 West Virginia fans. So it's just a small slice of the fan base. Maybe not necessarily how everyone feels, but certainly of all the coaches in the conference, I'm not going to say he's on the hot seat yet, but it's year 4, and certainly those fans want to see improvement and progress this year. I think there's, they've lost a lot of players to the portal this offseason. I think some people see that as a red flag. Their offenses have been, a little bit frustrating. They brought in Graham Harrell, which I think is going to help quite a bit. But certainly I think going into year 4, I think the fan base, I feel like they're not, their perception of it is this is not where they think it should be right now. And so certainly it's on him and his staff to really put the pieces together this year and take a big step after disappointing last year.
What a difference a year makes. You had this poll a year ago, and maybe you did. I don't remember for sure, but Dave Aranda right below Luke Fickell as far as happiness with your head coach at number 2, and Dave Aranda at the top, right ahead of Mike Gundy as the most underrated coach. What a difference a year makes.
If we did this last year, and we didn't do this survey last year, but if we did this last year, do you think Baylor fans would have given Dave Aranda like a 5, 4, 6? I mean, what kind of grade do you think he would have earned after year 1?
Wouldn't have been a 9.
No, yeah.
I would have said there would have been some patience, but there would have been some absolute anxiety.
Yeah, I think it would have evened out to being right about that in the middle.
Yeah.
Kind of 50-50 on that based on that first year. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, and reading the comments from Baylor fans, certainly, and even as you mentioned, I asked fans who's the most underrated coach in the conference, and there was a lot of votes for Chris Kleiman and Lance Leipold and a lot for Mike Gundy, but Dave Aranda, received the most from Big 12 fans and not just from Baylor fans, obviously, but folks around the conference who were just so impressed by the turnaround. And there was even a few readers or a few subscribers who said they think he's on his way to being one of the greats in the profession. And certainly, people, weren't making that assumption a year ago, but it just shows you, kind of the payoff for what they were able to flip here in year two.
There are a couple of polls, a couple of surveys. What is the right size for the college football playoff? 85+% said 8 teams to 12 teams. So that's overwhelming. And then also how they felt about monetizing the NIL. And 86+% all for it, uncomfortable, but okay with it. And I think that's overwhelming as well, obviously, just because of the percentages.
Yeah, it was interesting. I definitely recognize that NIL is a little bit of a lightning rod issue right now across the sport. But, to see Big 12 fans weigh in and 86% of them say they're okay with it, I'm sure there's a wide array of feelings about whether they think this is heading in a good direction or bad direction or whatever. But the 86% indicating they're okay with it and just 10% saying they're not okay with it, I thought was really interesting and shows that fans generally are pretty supportive of student athletes being able to earn more. And even if we have all sorts of, fears about collectives and all the things that are going on here. And then, like you said, with the playoff, found that 95% of Big 12 fans would like to see the playoff expand. And look, part of that, I imagine as this conference gets bigger down the road, you want to feel like you've got guaranteed access to the postseason, stuff like that. But, the majority opinion was leaning 12 over 8, but there were a lot of folks out there who support Big 12 teams that would be okay with 8.
Max, I thought it was interesting also that most people were pretty happy with the 4 that are coming in. There was, very small percentage that were that didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I think that if you're Bob Bowlesby, you have to be pretty encouraged by, I think that people generally are pretty pleased by what he was able to do. What we found was, it's a pretty strong perception, 81% positive marks right now in terms of, we asked whether they were satisfied by the new members, and only 5% said they were unsatisfied. So, certainly the opinions on that will evolve over time as you start playing them and get to know them better. But I think certainly there was a pretty strong sense among voters that, the Big 12 did the best they could in terms of the targets and they were able to bring in, and B, that I think there's a clear understanding when you watch what Cincinnati and Houston and BYU were able to do last season in football, you feel pretty encouraged that they're going to come in and be ready to compete.
Max, would it be fair to say that even though there's a little bit more confidence because of the moves made, there is still a big blanket of anxiety over the Big 12 fans, not counting OU and Texas folks, just in terms of, I know one fan mentioned the TV deal and how uncertain that looks right now and just kind of getting lost in the shuffle. How much anxiety do you think is there for most Big 12 fans?
Yeah, at the end of the survey, we gave people kind of a space to say, hey, what's your biggest concern for the conference going forward? And, that's obviously there's kind of a laundry list when you think about the next few years here and all the uncertainties and stuff. And out of again, 1,500 people that filled it out, there were more than 300 people who said money. That money was the number one concern they have. The TV deal, the revenue distribution to schools, is the Big 12 going to fall far behind the SEC and Big 10 as people project? And can they stay on par with the Pac-12 and the ACC in terms of the financials? So I think that was really very clearly the number one concern. And then after that, a lot of anxiety about just what will be the reputation and level of respect this conference gets, when it's in its new 12-team setup. Will media and will college football playoff and all those people view this as the worst of Power 5 conferences? Will it still be viewed as a Power 5 conference? There's a lot of concern about that, and then certainly a lot of concern about, will there be more realignment here in a few years, and could the Big 12 potentially be rated again? So, there's a lot of work to be done between, Bob Bowlesby and all the ADs and presidents and all that to try and, you can pat yourself on the back and say we did all the right things at the end of that blind side, but certainly you got to do a lot of work here over the next few years to protect and improve your position.
We just had AD Gene Taylor from Kansas State. They hired Jerome Tang, as you know, and we had him on for that. But we also asked him Big 12 questions as well. And one of them was, do they want to see the 12, once Texas and Oklahoma leave, whenever that is, kind of stabilize a little bit? And will they look down the road at doing more? And, sometimes one of the problems is people try to get too big too early. A lot of leagues that try to take on, like, the former leagues that were pro football leagues other than the NFL. Mm-hmm. And he said, don't say no. Never say never, because you never know about down the road. Do you feel like right now we're like in a year or two bubble where things will slow down again, or do you feel like we might see another wave?
Well, we didn't really see Texas and Oklahoma coming, so I guess we always have to kind of brace for that possibility that, things are going on behind the scenes and people are trying to make moves. But no, I think that when you think about adding new members to the Big 12 again, I think obviously a move like that has to be tied to what is the benefit in terms of the TV rights deal. And so if there's a sense that, going to 14 or more would net them a lot more money, in terms of that next deal with ESPN or Fox or whoever, then, I'm sure that that's something they would take seriously, regardless of who those candidates are. And, I think that's where it kind of comes down to, like, but as you guys know, like, if you're going from 12 to more, then that's more people sharing the pie too. Yep. So you got to have a pretty clear understanding that in terms of, I know people got sick of talking about this in August, but you have to feel like it adds value to the Big 12. And it's just hard to sit here today and predict, how any of those numbers kind of shake out here a few years from now. And so I'm sure that Bob Bowlesby is going to do whatever he's got to do to maximize what they can get out of this next round of negotiations.
Max, would it be fair to say that Oklahoma fans are a little more cautious about entering the SEC as opposed to Texas fans, or do you think that they're probably about on the same page in terms of not only excitement but also a level of concern?
Yeah, it was interesting to, so I threw it out there. I said, hey, 8 months later, what do you guys think of Texas and Oklahoma leaving through the SEC? And I had to read through 1,200 responses to that, which was enjoyable, to say the least. A lot of cursing, guys. Turns out a lot of people still have some pretty strong feelings about that. I think when you go through what the Oklahoma fans and the Texas fans that voted in the survey thought, there's definitely more Oklahoma fans who kind of have mixed emotions about how this played out, and losing the history and the rivalries and stuff like that, and also some just recognition that, like, we've dominated this conference in football. It's going to be a different deal in the SEC. There's going to be growing pains that come with that, and we can't expect to, we have to recognize that you may lose 1 to 4 games a year for a little while in the SEC as you kind of catch up to it. So there was some of that. Certainly there's a lot of excitement about going to the SEC, and even more so among Texas fans. I think the ones that hold, there are some that, would rather be in the Big 12 and maybe don't love what's going on. But, by and large, the Texas fans that I heard from, very excited about it, fired up, can't wait. Like, they want it to happen as soon as possible. And a lot of kind of like defensive answers about, well, we had to, this is inevitable. This was, something that, you have to do what you have to do in terms of money and all that. And certainly more so among the Texas fans than the Oklahoma fans, not many regrets about what went down that summer.
Well, that was a tough decision for Joe and Tahlequah to make,
Well, and Max, if you ask most Texas fans, they've ignored what's happened since 2005 anyway. So going to the SEC is, it's 2006, right? Let's go.
No comment. No, I'm kidding. Look, I get it. I mean, I get that, like, certainly when you read the response to the survey from Texas fans, Oklahoma fans, like, they don't think very highly of Bob Bowlesby. They don't think very highly of the conference now. You have to kind of, like, in your head, have all these justifications for why you're making this move, even though a lot of people get that, if any school had that opportunity, they'd take it. But, it's funny. The Oklahoma fans were a little more sentimental about the Big 12, and the Texas fans, not so much.
Max, this is off topic to your story, but it was one of the more interesting stories that I saw over the last couple of weeks. The unnamed school and quarterback and the $8 million NIL deal. I know that people have kind of pointed arrows on what school they think it is and who that quarterback is and all of that. But, we've seen other deals here and there. But just your thoughts on kind of that story, the response it got, and just the way you continue to see NIL sort of progress forward.
Yeah, it's funny. Our Stuart Mandel was the one who broke that story, and to be totally honest, I think I know who it is, but I actually haven't asked Stu, and he hasn't told me. And it's I think you've seen a lot of people connect the dots that it's Tennessee's newest quarterback commit that just happened this week, and whether it's him or not, I think it's more interesting just in terms of the specifics of what kind of money this player is going to make. It's maybe not necessarily as interesting as is this going to be kind of the arms race now, and how many schools out there can truly say we can put together these kind of packages for the best recruits in the country. And certainly for schools like Tennessee, if you're going to make this move, and certainly they've pounded their chest quite a bit that they're going to be one of the best out there when it comes to collectives, then I'm fascinated to see what kind of recruiting class you can build. If you're, what is the best recruiting class that money can buy? What does it look like? And then what are you able to do as a program if you get those players? And how long does it take for Josh Heupel and his staff to turn it around? I think it's fascinating to see the ones that are out there that are making these moves, that are willing to cut big checks to get players right now. I know there's a lot of angst about, what direction the sport's heading in, but certainly you want to see, is this actually going to pay off for them? And, as we saw a few years ago, Tennessee was recruiting at a top 10 level under Jeremy Pruitt, and all those players transferred. So, I mean, even if you get those guys in, you got to get it, you, as a program, you have to stay out of trouble, and you have to keep them in development.
Max, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Great stuff with the survey. That was fun to read today. Max Olson, theathletic.com, with us Thursdays at 4 o'clock, Sikkim 365 Radio. We'll have Mickey Spagnola around the corner on his thoughts on the NFL week that was, another one that was wild and crazy. Craig's off the radar. John Gallagher, the head coach at Hartford, will join us at 5 to break down all of the Sweet 16 matchups tonight and tomorrow.
Max mentioned it. We didn't really follow up on it, but Big 12 fans preferring Memphis over SMU, in that poll, and SMU not necessarily the popular pick. That's still the one to me that we know when they talked about the re-expansion and what that next wave could look like. That was the one school, if you remember, I was kind of hung up on because even when we got the explanation, I was like, okay, I get it. It's about potential, not about right now. But still, that's one of those schools that I do think you start to get the feeling of how much are we watering this down? Because with all due respect to SMU, they already have similar schools that are just slightly larger in Baylor and TCU. Like, how much does it help you to have a third school in the state of Texas, all within a 2-hour drive of each other, that are similar? I just don't know how that boosts you outside of what the reasoning was, which was this is what SMU could potentially turn into. So, if you want to go on a hope and a prayer and feel like that, I mean, I guess that's kind of what you're doing with everybody, but I guess I'm not surprised to see that in the poll.
Go back and listen to our interview with Rick Hart, and he, of course, that's his job, is to sell them, but I thought he made some pretty good points. That's been several weeks ago, but and he understands the weaknesses and what the concerns would be.
But that's I think the philosophy going forward for the Big 12 when you expand with the schools they even have now, even though UCF and Houston, UCF in particular is a massive, gigantic, huge school student body wise. They have to look at what can grow, and because otherwise you're not. You're gonna sit there in a room and argue over who's the biggest and who's the biggest now. You have to see what your cash crop could be, and that's what they have to do, because it is a bit of a wing and a prayer on a lot of these, Craig. The University of Houston's really good at a lot of things, and it's in a major metropolitan market, but nothing has happened in its history to make it super valuable until maybe right now.
They got a hell of a president right now.
Those two things have to work out, but it's a big risk.
Yeah. And the list included those Arizona schools, of course, and I think both of them would be gems if you added them. And that's not to say the Pac-12 will fall apart. That was just go ahead and include them. Memphis, Boise State, SMU, and Colorado State would be the next 4. USF was right below San Diego State, but those are some schools. We've had some of you bring up San Diego State. We've had you bring up the academies. UNLV. We've had you bring up, but these are some that we've discussed when we've also kind of tried to stay not so much ahead of the curve, but also forecasting what could be down the road. There's nobody on that list that was a surprise. We had some of you even bring up Colorado State. They've got some things they got to take care of there. They're not apparently on the radar, but I'm not surprised their name is on there. I would personally and selfishly love San Diego State. I would love to go cover a game. I love San Diego and miss it. I haven't been there in a long time since covering the what was it, the Holiday Bowl, back when they played UCLA and smoked them with only 13 passes thrown in that game. When we come back, Mickey Spagnola off the radar, John Gallagher on the Sweet 16 and much more. Hey, the NIT's in the semifinal round. St. Bonaventure, Bob Lanier went there. We'll play Xavier in the semifinals on Monday. In the other semifinal, Texas A&M and Buzz Williams and Washington State. The championship is on a week from tonight. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on. That's right, Richard Carr has been doing their thing for over 20 years in Central Texas now at this point, and they are celebrating in a major way. March marks 23 years in the automotive business for Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, and in those 23 years, they've sold the best trucks and cars on the road, and like Richard Carr Motors, GMC, Buick, and Cadillac have offered first-class vehicles that you can trust. They want to thank Waco and Central Texas for all of the support over the years, and they look forward to many more years to come. As summer vacation approaches, remember that Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac has 11 SUV models to choose from with dozens of trim options. Richard Carr is a one-stop shop to find that perfect SUV for your needs, starting at $24K. You can call now, come by now, or go online to find that perfect SUV for your family this summer as you travel to the coast or to the beach or to the mountains or wherever you're going. You want to make sure you're in a reliable ride, and Richard Carr has a bunch of options for you. And if you're not looking to buy new, they are also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. They've all gone through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot, and they have over 10 lenders who will do what it takes to get you in a car today, as 100% credit approval is always the goal. So go online or come by for a test drive today. And with it being anniversary month at Richard Carr, they'll continue to celebrate all month long with great deals. Just make sure when you give them a call, if you're looking to get into a ride as fast as possible, that you mention getting on their inbound vehicle list. You get signed up for that inbound vehicle list, and as soon as that car or truck that you're looking for arrives, they will get it to you as quickly as possible. So trust the good local people you can count on for 23 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans and proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
All right. By the way, if you follow me at all on Twitter, I just retweeted what Colt Barber put up, some renovation that we've done here in the studio as we continue to update. One of the things I loved what he said, always moving forward. We have done some renovation for podcasts, different type shows, and Jack McKenzie and Colt Barber put a lot of time into it.
I'm going to crowdsource. Our new area is going to be team neutral or interchangeable as for what it is. So it's not going to be very green and gold themed, if you mean what it is. So if you have any memorabilia that you're not using from a school that doesn't live in the 254, we're happy to send it our way, and we'll get it up there.
Yeah, you can send it, and if you want, text us, 254-339-1122, and I'll give you my address so it mailed to my physical address, and we'll put it in the background. Mickey Spagnola joins us, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, a lot of crazy things. Is this the most bizarre or wild or busy offseason you can remember with big names and trades in the NFL?
Yeah, I think it's because of the high-profile players that are either getting exorbitant contracts to stay or getting traded and signing exorbitant contracts. I mean, there's always been movement, right? But it doesn't seem to have been with such high-profile players, especially quarterbacks that, you know, generally don't change teams. Once you get a franchise quarterback, I mean, until he's got gray hair, he's staying with that team. Well, that ain't the case no more. Maybe there's more quarterbacks available that they feel like they can move on. And maybe teams somehow, some way came up with more salary cap money and are willing to deal with dead money. I mean, Atlanta, the historic amount of dead money to, Matt Ryan to let him go. So yeah, this has been pretty nuts. And we're only 1 week into free agency.
Mickey, Cowboys fans are, at least the ones you hear from online, are incensed, I think would be the word, at their approach to free agency. Although it's no different than anything that's been happening. Is this smorgasbord of big names moving and a couple of them available for what would seem like maybe shorter term deals and the Cowboys not even interested, a plan that they're going to stick to going forward? Or could you see the Cowboys maybe moving on one of these guys?
Well, what's left?
I mean, Bobby Wagner and Tyrann Mathieu, I would think, would be the two that would make the most sense.
And how much money do they want?
Well, not about the money, it's the years, right?
Well, it's the money and the years, right? Bobby Wagner's 33. Mm-hmm. If he wants big bucks, you're going to have to give him a 5-year deal. Well, that ain't happening. Now, does Tyrann Mathieu want a 1 or 2 year deal for $15 million? I bet not. I bet he wants to cash in. And there is a salary cap, and there's not just a salary cap for this year. It counts next year and next year and next year. And next year, I don't know if anybody looked up what Dak's cap hit is for 2023, but it's $47 million. And they're running out of time to continue stretching his contract with voidable years. You can't just keep doing that and let that happen. So there's money involved in this, not Jerry Jones's money, the Dallas Cowboys salary cap money. And while everybody seems to think they got all this money left over, well, number one, they don't get La'el Collins' $10 million base salary because till June 1, they designated him a June 1 release. So that money doesn't come available till then. They just signed 5 guys, and I know they were nibbling, right? But if 5 guys averaged, I don't know, $2 million cap hit this year, that's $10 million right off the books. And you normally need about $7 to $8 million to get through the season to fund a practice squad. So it's not like they're sitting there on a big bunch of money. And I keep hearing people say, well, Randy Gregory had a contract that was averaging $14 million a year, so they got $14 million. No, his cap hit on that contract that he signed with Denver, that was going to be the same thing he had with the Cowboys, is only $6 million for the first year. So that's all they saved, and they spent that on 3 different guys. So, I've never been ever been a fan of signing high price free agents because generally they never live their contract. Their ability, it outlives their ability to play. And then you end up with dead money and it counts. So, I don't know what Tyrann Mathieu wants. I mean, what does he want to play for? But the Cowboys can't give him a $40 million deal and keep all these other guys. That's the bottom line when you have high-priced quarterback, running back, Hall of Fame guard, a yearly Pro Bowler at left tackle. And I know Tyron Smith's getting old, but he still commands some money. I understand their anger, but it's not like they're saving money just to save money. They're managing their salary cap.
Mickey, what did you think of the signing of James Washington?
Well, I think it's a placeholder. I mean, it's only a 1-year deal. My guess is it's, from the cap standpoint, $3-4 million. I think it helps. I didn't know his entire story other than I was very familiar with him when he was at Oklahoma State. But I didn't know he was a rancher just west of Abilene with 40 acres. And I started reading his story, and I didn't even know Stamford, Texas existed, where he grew up. But I think it helps at a position where they needed someone that was somewhat of a veteran that wasn't going to cost them an arm and a leg. Now, they still got some work to do at that wide receiver spot. Now, I think from the interview we listened to with him today or had with him today, I think he's cherishing the opportunity to have a shot at being more than the third or fourth receiver on a team. And he'll get that chance to compete, and we'll see what he can do. I just kind of remember him from his Oklahoma State days, and I'm not sure what all took place in Pittsburgh, but I thought he was better than how they used him.
Mickey, the way that is Mike McCarthy a CEO head coach, or and I'm not saying he doesn't do X's and O's, don't get me wrong, but is he somebody that coaches as a CEO and wants to have relationships with the players where he can get the most out of them? Does that make sense, what I'm asking you?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think there's a misconception out there, or perception, that Kellen Moore is an independent contractor. Like Mike McCarthy doesn't have anything to say about what happens with the offense, the offensive game plan, how they structure things. I think he's right in there. Maybe he's in there too much. I don't know. Maybe Kellen would like to be more free to do what he wants to do. But yeah, I mean, it looks that way. But I think he's pretty hands-on, that people don't realize how hands-on he is. And I don't know that he's gotten to the point, and I'm not sure what the last part of your question meant about being in relationships with players. I think he's just kind of a Pittsburgh guy that, people normally would be attracted to if you got to know him on the other side of the camera. But I think he's more involved in that offense than people think.
Mickey, how do you think that has free agency changed the Cowboys' draft plans at all, with Randy Gregory leaving in particular?
Well, we had this discussion today on our podcast, and I gave him 4 positions: offensive line, wide receiver, defensive end, linebacker. And if everything was equal at 24, meaning talent, which position would you most value at that point in the draft? Because they probably need one of each. And we had an argument for a defensive end, we had an argument for a wide receiver, and we had an argument for a guard. And I think if they did any of that, and again, if the talent, everything was equal with talent, they would be fortunate to get one of those 3, and they would have a spot for that guy. But you only get one first-round pick. So, you don't always get Micah Parsons in the first round, and especially when you're picking at 24. So, I don't know. I know I'm not answering your question, but yeah, this draft is going to be very important to them. And last year's draft is going to be very important to them for some of those guys to step up. Because you can't keep buying free agents to sustain a balanced roster. They need guys like Chauncey Golston to step up. They need guys like Josh Ball, who was on injured reserve the entire season, to at least challenge to be the backup offensive tackle. They need some of these young guys to really, come around. Jabril Cox, can they count on him? I don't know. He played half a season and tore his ACL. Simi Fehoko, can he help them? Because I don't think Michael Gallup will be ready to play the season opener, and maybe not for the first month after having his ACL surgery in February. So they're desperately need some of these guys to be able to step up and be players, because you can't get every position with a first-round pick. You have to develop guys. And, that was one of the reasons why they decided to move on from La'el Collins. They had confidence that Terrence Steele was ready to be a full-time starter at right tackle. And if truth's known, he probably played better than La'el Collins did this past year. So the draft's important. And the guys that you've picked in the last 2 drafts really have to start paying dividends.
Mickey, I know it's not some major free agent signing, but the Cowboys did make a move with their coaching staff, hiring Brian Schottenheimer. Is he just going to be kind of an analyst? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, he's going to take the place of Ben McAdoo, who was basically their consultant last year. And he helped with a lot of the pre-preparation for games. Like he was looking, the Cowboys were getting ready to say they were getting ready to play, I don't know, Carolina. And the next game was going to be against the Eagles. He was on to the Eagles while the team was preparing for Carolina.
Gotcha.
And was helping on offense and helping on defense too. With his experience in the league, his experience of personnel, and just his ability. I mean, he had been a head coach. So I see Schottenheimer kind of stepping in to kind of that same role. They really liked what McAdoo was able to do for him last year. In fact, stepped in to the coaching staff when McCarthy had to sit out with the COVID that one game.
Mickey, thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. Mickey Spagnola, Thursdays at 4:30, NFL and Cowboys news, breaking things down, and we'll have more on the plate, of course, next week as well. When we come back, Craig Smoak's off the radar. Hartford head coach John Gallagher at 5, breaking down the 8 Sweet 16 games. We got a lot to get to, and Paul's top 5 just over an hour from now. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I've told this story a couple of different times, and you've heard me discuss other businesses that we endorse about customer service. One, customer service works, but you also have to be good at whatever your profession is. I mentioned, like, for example, Pioneer Steel and Pipe with great product, incredible service. Dr. Steve Childress, this guy's amazing. He's a dentist in Robinson. I have been to him many times in the last, I'd say 3 to 4 years. He has, on a couple of occasions, gone out of his way and away from his own personal schedule to treat me with a couple of problems I've had with a molar, one in my lower right jaw and the other one in my top left. I walked in on a Friday morning recently where I had this terrible pain. I bit into something. It's like, almost to my knees. Fridays for dentists, they've got a packed schedule, and everybody, of course, wants to go home. I walked in on the worst day I could, and he saw me. They were amazing, and he fixed the problem. He once met me on a Friday evening after dinner with his wife to help treat me with something that hurt on the other side of my mouth. He's amazing, and it's not just because he treated me after hours or before hours. It's because he treated me, and it worked. Dr. Steve Childress and an incredible staff from front door to back door, Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Cars priced right both day and night. At Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you red, white, and blue. At Richard Car in Texas, cars that zoom with lots of room. At Richard Car in Texas, count on us, a dealer to trust. At Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right. Welcome into Off the Radar here on Sikkim 365 Radio. Taking a look at just a scattering of stories here, and we'll get into couple of college basketball contracts to start things off here. Tennessee announcing today that they have rewarded men's basketball coach Rick Barnes after getting a SEC tournament championship. He's getting a contract extension. Danny White, athletic director, announcing the deal today. No financial terms were disclosed, but Barnes was extended through 26-27, the 26-27 season. So Rick Barnes, now 67 years old. He's seventh nationally in active head coaching victories, 754. He's gotten 150 of those at Tennessee. So Rick Barnes inked for a few more years. And meanwhile, Creighton signing men's basketball coach Greg McDermott to a multi-year contract. They got to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Their AD, Marcus Blossom, announced that deal as well today. Terms, like with Tennessee and Rick Barnes, also not disclosed, but he's 276 and 137, 7 NCAA tournament appearances in 12 seasons, and second highest win total in program history. So Rick Barnes at Tennessee and Greg McDermott at Creighton both getting multi-year extensions today.
Yeah, not surprised. Greg McDermott, I've always been kind of surprised that he maybe hasn't taken a bigger job, but again, that is his program, Creighton. So there's a lot to be said for that. And Rick Barnes, Texas fans probably lamented it a little bit, but that turned out to be a good deal for both sides in that they were kind of done with each other. And good for Rick Barnes continuing to win at Tennessee, although he shocked in the first weekend of the tournament. You roll in, your fans think you should have maybe been a 1 seed. That means you should probably win 2 games and get to the next weekend.
McDermott overcame that one faux pas when he mentioned Plantation, remember? And there was a lot of heat on him. Creighton is a basketball school. That's what they are in a football state like Nebraska, even though they haven't been good across the way. That's a good job. That's kind of like Xavier. And I'm not a basketball knowledgeable guy about too much, but those are schools that are basketball schools. There's nothing wrong with being there, and you can make some pretty good money.
Yeah, this open NCAA tournament to the fans, unlike last year when they were in the bubble, and that's probably helped a bit, I would think, in terms of ratings. Maybe ratings would have gone up otherwise, but bottom line is ratings are up 12% in the men's tournament over a year ago. Best start in 5 years, averaging a little over 9 million viewers through the second round on 4 different channels with TBS, CBS, TNT, and True TV. And what's also notable is the women's tournament, up 15% overall through the first 2 rounds in the ratings. Second round had a little less than 500,000 viewers, which is, you hear that and you're like, well, that's not that great. It's a 25% jump from a year ago. So not the biggest number, but that is a big number for women's basketball. And the UCF UConn game That was on Monday night, averaged 1.13 million, the most viewed early round women's game since 2009. And the Creighton, Iowa game on Sunday got close to the million mark as well. So across the board, both men's and women's. And we've heard a lot more about the women's tournament just because of some of the parity. But they're closing in on nearly 30 million hours of basketball watched between the two tourneys, and like I said, they're back. Things, the doors are open to the arenas and fans can pile in, so I think that's great for both, that the ratings are coming back a bit.
Good. People watch. I mean, it's good for the sport. They desperately need it.
Yeah, they do. Also, New York City. Baseball season's right around the corner. We're kind of wondering, with the whole Kyrie Irving thing of not being able to play home games in New York, how that was going to work with the Yankees and the Mets and just in general, like how's NYC going to, handle this COVID rule where, guys like Kyrie Irving can be fans in attendance but not play on the court 100 yards away. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Well, today, New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced the mandate for unvaccinated athletes and performers has been lifted. This is about putting New York athletes on a level playing field, he said at a press conference at Citi Field. We were treating our performers differently because they live and play in New York City. So now that means unvaccinated players can play in home games in New York, and that means Kyrie Irving, unvaccinated, and says he's not getting it no matter what. He can now play in theory.
He should be pissed.
Yeah,
he should be absolutely pissed. It took the start of the Yankees season to make them change their mind. Well, not how we think of COVID, not what the science says, none of that. It was the Yankees and Mets, and Kyrie should be pissed.
Yeah, he should be. And look, Kyrie Irving is different. He's a different cat. We all know that about Kyrie Irving. But if Kyrie Irving can look at the Orlando Magic coming into that arena and have unvaccinated players play, then the rule makes no sense. So either everybody's unvaccinated players don't play or no one's. Yeah, I mean, that's how the rule would have to make sense.
But here's the interesting thing. Based on what I read, I mean, this is applying to athletes.
And performers.
So, Broadway actors, I guess. But outside of that, still in place.
Yeah.
So, this is an athlete rule, basically. And, they were asked about that at this press conference. And the mayor said a small number of people have an outsized impact on our economy. And then, the Yankees were, everybody's part of this press conference, but the Yankees president said one of the driving factors for the teams to lobby City Hall was the economic impact on the neighborhoods around Yankee Stadium and Citi Field. So basically, this was all about money. The whole thing's just all about money, like everything else in this country. Rules are rules until they affect the money, and then those rules magically change.
Yeah. Now, to Eric Adams' credit, he has to walk back a lot of things that Bill de Blasio, a very, very, very unpopular mayor in New York City, did. He became unpopular in the first month when he got caught on camera eating pizza with a knife and fork, and then no one in...
What?
Yes. Seriously, there was a video of him eating pizza with a knife and fork, and New Yorkers are like, no. How do we vote for this guy? Yeah. And so from that point on, de Blasio was very unpopular, and then his decisions after that were much like eating pizza with a knife and fork. Yeah. They didn't make a lot of sense, so that's why he's not mayor anymore.
Elsewhere, so yeah, that's all. You'll see Aaron Judge or whoever else was. I mean, I don't even know his vax status, nor do I care. But anybody that was not vaxxed, they're going to be able to play now in New York because New York doesn't want to hurt their pockets. Basically, it has nothing to do with anything else. Speaking of New York. The NIT, you brought up the semifinals and all the everything coming up as far as the NIT tournament. But what is very interesting in terms of NIT news, and this has not become official just yet, but the AP reported this on Wednesday via an anonymous source that the NIT will not be hosted as far as the semifinals and the championship game at MSG over the next 2 years, where it's Mecca. That's where the NIT is held. That goes all the way back to 1938. The NIT playing there at MSG, but anonymous sources said that 2023 and 24 are available for bids, with potential locations ranging from resort areas such as Las Vegas to arenas like Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. Nothing beyond 2024 has been determined. So, yeah, it looks like MSG will not be hosting the semis and the finals of the NIT for the next couple of years.
New York used to host everything. They had the NFL draft at Radio City Music Hall. And they've lost that too. And they're spreading things like this around the country, They're starting to let other cities have a chance. But Madison Square Garden, man, that is the Mecca.
Yeah, that'd be a bummer as a player. Like if you just happen to get in there the year where they move it to, Hinkle Fieldhouse is cool for its own historic reasons, but when you hear guys talk about where they grow up, they want to play at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, but it's now maybe taking the NFL draft tact and moving around and get some bids and see what happens.
Yep. Day after the big news, Tyreek Hill leaving Kansas City for the Miami Dolphins. The Chiefs did make a move today, signing Marquez Valdez-Scantling on Thursday, 3-year, $30 million deal. So that is one of their moves to try and replace Tyreek Hill, and I guess I'll run through these real quick. Texas Tech senior offensive analyst Kirk Bryant made the list of cast members for the new season of The Bachelorette. He was at Baylor previously.
Dude,
and it begins filming this week. It says he made the list of potential cast members, and then it starts filming this week. So I assume he's on the cast because
I don't know how their culling process works.
Doesn't he have spring drills?
Yeah.
He's an offensive analyst. I don't know that I guess he's valuable, obviously, but I don't know how that works. It doesn't really clarify on whether he's on the cast or not. It just says he made it to the list of potential members, and they start filming next week. So, Kirk Bryant, Texas Tech senior offensive analyst who was at Baylor.
And don't ask me how I know this, but there's 2 Bachelorettes this year.
Oh, is there? Oh, well, then
how do you know this, Paul?
They're doing it.
I told you not to ask me how I know that.
But I want to know.
Yeah, well, I walked into the house the other day, and Amanda watches it. So.
And final note, another Texas Tech, Matt Wells joining Brent Venables' staff at Oklahoma. He is going to be joining the Sooners. Been with Texas Tech, obviously. So he joins, names like Jeff Lebby and all the others that Venables has brought on board as he's had this big makeover. And, obviously a guy with a lot of experience, a lot of time in the college game. So he's going to be helping out with the Oklahoma Sooners coaching staff. I did not see an exact title for him other than just support staff, but there's a hire by Brent Venables. And we'll see how that goes for Matt Wells. But good to see him land on his feet, and there's a few things off the radar.
Thank you, Craig. The analyst job has allowed coaches who have been fired in football to have an opportunity to work and get themselves, still get paid by the program that owes them money, and yet still continue to work. We've seen Alabama do it probably as well as anybody, and I know Texas has done it quite a bit as well. We're now joined by John Gallagher, the head basketball coach at Hartford. He is on a train. And so you talk about commitment to us. That's from him. Coach Gallagher joins us. Where are you going?
I was down at UCLA's practice with Mick Cronin and just heading back to Hartford.
Okay. Now, what happened to Baylor? We got to start with that, then we're going to get into the Sweet 16 because they obviously, that incredible comeback, but it did not seem like who they were for 30 minutes.
It was one of the most – I was in a game like that too, down 26, and we actually took the lead and ended up losing in double overtime. John Feinstein wrote about it in his book. But what I would say to you is Baylor really showed such resiliency and such toughness. And it's, I such a credit to Scott Drew. If you're going to go out, you don't want to go out losing by 25 3-year run that they had. And the way they went out was just valiant, their hearts and their souls out there. It is such a sign of a great coach. When you're down 25 and you come back and you're a play away from winning it, I really tip my hat to Scott and his staff.
What did you think of Jeremy Sohan deciding that the way to help get back in this game was to get square in the heads of particularly Brady Manick and Andrew Baycott?
Well, intensity, like when you're in a desperate mode as a player and a program, there's no thought. And I thought watching Baylor in that game, they were overthinking everything for 30 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like everything was just, you could see them thinking out there. And that doesn't benefit you when you overthink in basketball. It's not a good thing. So I just love how they just kept coming and coming and coming. And it's just it's a great sign for a program, and you guys should be really proud.
Coach, tonight, here in about an hour, actually, the first game will get tipped off. 4-seeded Arkansas out of the SEC and 1-seed Gonzaga in that West region. What are your thoughts on the Zags, one of the top seeds, taking on these Razorbacks?
You know, I guess it was Monday night. I had a 20-minute call with you. He called me at midnight, and he's like, "Are you up?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm up." But listen, I think Gonzaga, they've been shooting foul shots weird. They've shot 53%. I think this is a game that's a good matchup for them. I think Arkansas is really good. Musselman's done a job, but I just think Gonzaga got through the really hard game with Memphis. I think that was a grade 8 game, and they presented Gonzaga with the biggest upfront size that was an issue. And I just think Gonzaga right now is poised to win this game.
What are your thoughts about Duke and Texas Tech?
Wow, what a game this is going to be. It's probably the game of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, if you study defense like I study defense, and you study offense, it's going to be really interesting to see how Duke attacks Texas Tech. And you guys are really familiar with Texas schemes. You're dealing with one of the schemes. Ball. So, honestly, you know, Texas Tech has tough guys. And obviously, Banchero's a handful. And you're looking, like, in my mind, the kid Williams for Duke, the big kid in the middle, is the X factor in the game. He's been playing great as of late. If the game's in the 50s, 60s, favor Texas Tech. If the game gets in the 70s, favor Duke.
One of the tightest matchups is probably going to be Kansas and Providence. Those teams, Providence has been great all year. Ed Cooley, very clear in his press conference, he's afraid of no man out there and very geared up for this. How do you see that one playing out, especially given Remy Martin's new contribution on offense to Kansas, which they didn't have that all year?
Well, first I want to talk about Ed. He fears no man on the golf course either. I golfed with him this summer. The guy's a scratch golfer. I mean, dude, when I got done golfing with him, James Jones from Yale and Mike Martin from Brown, I turned to Mike and James. I said, dude, I wish I had his game. How does he? I mean, his swing is just unbelievable. Literally, he's a scratch golfer. His attitude is why Providence is so good. And you know, I don't care who you are, attitude, really, really. And look, Kansas is a handful, but Providence wins close games. And Ed has it in his players. The belief of his players is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So that could be a phenomenal game, too.
Coach, Kelvin Sampson's got the Cougs back in a deep run in the tournament as a 5 seed. They've got the number 1 ranked Arizona, or number 1 seed Arizona Wildcats tonight. Just your thoughts. Houston losing a couple of key players along the way, just fighting, scratching, clawing, and the job Kelvin Sampson's done, but what he's also running into tonight against the Wildcats.
Most interesting matchup for me because Kelvin has this team playing. They really reinvented themselves after the 2 injuries in January or February. One was in December, one was in January. Reinvent themselves. If you look at Arizona, the way they play and the way they really compete, I think they're just a team that, they're averaging 20 assists a game, guys. Think about that for a second. The way they share the ball and the pace they play at. And then I think, the offensive glass is going to be an issue for both teams. Obviously, Houston averages 13. Arizona's at 11. Second chance points. Circle that down in a game like this. Who's doing the fundamental things of blocking out? And I think it's a huge thing.
Your thoughts about Juwan Howard, who obviously found himself in a very big drama and on the wrong side of a story, and the fact they've been able to battle to get to the Sweet 16.
Well, I first off, you got to credit my college coach, Phil Martelli, for getting him in the tournament. He got him in the tournament. I mean, whatever his bonus is needs to be double. Okay? And, Michigan's got to find a way to treat him the right way. Think about that. They got 5 games left. They're sitting, as Lenardi said, on outside the bubble, and they had huge wins. Huge wins. And I think still got them in there. Obviously, Brooks is a handful. Dick are the because I.
Okay, John, we lost you there for a second.
No one knows Villanova basketball. I said no one knows Villanova basketball better than Phil Martelli. No one.
Wow.
No one.
That means that's a good. All right, one more thing about your buddy Shaheen Holloway at St. Peter's and the run they continue to make. Does Cinderella slipper fall off tonight? Or tomorrow night against Purdue?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. I hope not. I'm rooting for them. But Purdue's too big, too physical. UCLA practice, and I said this to Misc after practice, the physicality that UCLA plays with. And you know what he responded? He said, North Carolina and Purdue both are big and physical like this. And I'm just telling you, stay in this game tomorrow night has got to make shots, and the pace of play's got to slow down. But I just think Purdue has too much. But I'm rooting for St. Pete.
One more thing, John, and we know you're on the train, and thank you for being committed to being a part of it. Gonzaga, Arizona, or Kansas, among the number 1 seeds, are playing 4-4 and a 5. Which of them is the most vulnerable in your opinion?
Kansas.
Because of what you mentioned with Phil Martelli.
No, what I mean, Kansas to me, when you get into a situation like this and you're playing a Providence team, guys, Providence to me is old, and they now, ready for this, they felt the pressure in the first 2. They had to win. And guess what? They got through it. Now they're playing with house money. Right. Anytime Ed Cooley plays with a house money, look out. Look out.
Yeah, and again, I can't believe he's a scratch golfer. I saw where he was actually a volunteer or like an honorary chairman for the U.S. Senior Open one time. So he is. I mentioned Martelli. That's the Villanova game with Michigan, not the one with Kansas and Providence. Thanks a lot, John.
Yeah, I think Villanova. Let me just say this. I think with Villanova, Gillespie's the best point guard left in the tournament, and you're going to have to do everything to beat them. You follow me? You're going to. I think Villanova is the most fundamentally sound team. I've been doing a lot of studying, and fascinates me. I could spend 20 minutes just talking about how they never, ever, ever jump off of 1 foot. Everything's 2 feet. The fundamentals that Villanova play with, they're not going to turn the ball over. They're going to be rock solid on defense. I think Villanova is going to be a really hard out.
And they gave Baylor the hardest time in the tournament last year, with all due respect to the first few minutes in the first half with Hartford.
They gave them, if you remember the game, it was a little scary until they had those 2 consecutive turnovers.
Yep.
Game. You remember the back-to-back turnovers Villanova had? And then made Baylor last year, if you had 2 consecutive turnovers, they made you pay every single time. And I think that's the difference right now. Villanova is not making those turnovers because Gillespie's not hurt.
Thank you. Appreciate it. John, good luck. Be careful on your trip back. Be safe. Thanks for your time.
Hey, guys, you are the greatest, and we're on for next week.
Yeah, great. We'll be able to set up the Final Four. John Gallagher, our guy, our man, when it comes to Hartford basketball, but also college basketball, breaking it down. And one of the great things about, again, this show launching when we did, getting to know so many people that we didn't know before, and one of them, John Gallagher, because they opened with Baylor last year to start the tournament. All right, when we come back, we'll have soccer tonight. The United States soccer team against Mexico, and it's a critical game. They can draw and or if they win, obviously that would be huge. And Will Parchman, who covers soccer for theathletic.com and many other sites as well, former writer for the Waco Trib, he and Paul Catalina discussed tonight. Jack McKenzie, our soccer aficionado as well. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I discuss a lot about the names of cigars, the 48-foot walk-in humidor at Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans on the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. But they have accessories as well. Zycar, Lotus, Vertigo, and Vector brand accessories. Some of them are torch lighters, some of them are cutters, and that's what you also need if you're going to smoke a cigar. You get the cigar out of the humidor or whatever sleeve of cigars you have, you cut the end of it, and then you take off the wrapper and pop. You use your torch lighter or whatever lighter you want. They have those accessories available as well. And yes, the great names of so many cigars. Inside, they're stacked, always full. Walk-in humidor, Partagas, Oliva, Odyssey, Padron, Cohiba, Christoph, Ashton, Camacho, CAO, and My Father, just some of the brands of the great cigars from not just around the country, but the world as well. And there's CBD products that continues to help people fall asleep, get more sleep, and sleep better at night with Vita Dreams, a CBD product. It's gummy. You bite into one or you take an entire one or maybe whatever you eventually know is the right amount. And the next thing you know, you don't toss and turn, you fall asleep and save yourself 30 minutes to an hour of sleep every single night, no matter what's on your mind. It's Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans. Tell Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne Smokey sent you in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? by not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference, and that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
An old friend, Will Parchman, used to work for the Waco Trib Athletic Soccer right now. And Will, USA qualifier tonight against Mexico. And they have, there's rumors of an interesting strategy of playing for a draw. That does not seem to be a smart idea, because if you play for a draw, you could still lose.
Yeah, that's the age-old question. I guess the question you have to ask is, Greg Berhalter, the coach, is probably asking himself right now is, would we win? Like, what is our potential of winning anyway? The U.S. is 0-6-3 all time in Mexico City. It is an unbelievably difficult place to play. It's 7,500 feet, which is, for perspective, to take Mile High Stadium in Denver and jack it up another 2,000 feet, and that's the altitude you're playing at. The air quality is not great. There's 100,000 fans in there. The amount of American fans among that will be very, very low. It's an unbelievably hostile environment. And so Greg Berhalter's weighing all these things. He's wondering, okay, well, we've got another game against Panama in 2 days, 3 days. These windows are extremely short. And so he's like, okay, well, do I hedge? Do I rest some guys because I don't feel good about winning there anyways? I don't think he's going to do that. He did talk in media this week about, well, maybe I'll play a B team, which, American fans hear B team, and from a traditional standpoint, it's sort of like playing for a tie. You get up in arms, like the old Ted Lasso quote about a tie being listed in Revelation for causing the apocalypse. I mean, it kind of comes across that way sometimes. But, it's not the dumbest strategy in the world, but I do think you play to win the games, in the immortal words of Herm Edwards. So I think he'll trot out a roster that's capable of winning. Now, will they? That's a bigger question.
So if they do lose, it's not the end of the world.
No. They've got 3 games left, and they've got a 6-point lead on the cutoff. And so some really catastrophic stuff would have to happen for them not to qualify. It's possible. Costa Rica is sort of that last team out, so to speak. And if the U.S. loses 2 games, the next 2, for instance, they'll be in some relatively hot water. Maybe we'll have to win the last one to get in. But it's not like it was last time where they didn't qualify for 2018. They're in good shape. So if they lose against Mexico, it won't be the end of the world, but it will start to put quite a bit more pressure on.
Who do you see being the scorer for this team, whatever strategy that they do? I mean, so say they play for a draw and then they fall down and need to score. What happens? Or if they roll out the big lineup, who are the guys they're gonna rely on?
Yeah, I can't see them resting Christian Pulisic in this game. Captain America, the big name. They may rest some other figures, but I can't see, because their offense just does not go, the attack does not go without Pulisic. And so, they'll be looking to him. The problem for the U.S. in this cycle has just continued to be striker. Ever since Josie Altidore was picking them in 6 to 8 years ago, they really haven't replaced that production. Ricardo Pepi, just up the road from Waco up here in Dallas. The rest of Dallas has been really promising. But he's young. He's 19 years old going into a hot box at Azteca. That's going to be really tough. So They're going to probably struggle to score. I would be unbelievably shocked to see the U.S. bag more than one goal. I mean, one goal is going to be tough, but certainly Christian Pulisic's going to be the name to look at. Unfortunately, I think you're going to see Greg Berhalter put a lot of defensive pieces on the field. They're going to go, they're going to try to set up shop in the back, just be really tidy, maybe break out and try to get a goal or two.
Where do you think this team is developmentally on their way to really making some noise in a World Cup? I would assume it's not in this year's World Cup, but is USA Soccer pointing in a direction to where they could actually contend and win a little bit internationally?
Yeah, there's nothing that in my mind that says in 2026, when the World Cup is here, in fact, in North America, that the U.S. should not make a deep run. Now, they don't have the talent coming through the pipeline where you say, oh, yeah, they're going to be a top 2, 3, 4 team in the world and a chance to win it all. Soccer's crazy and they could nip crazy results. But at the end of the day, you look at on-balance talent. Like you said, this year, if assuming they do make the World Cup, I mean, this is a team that, will be happy to get through the group and maybe win a game in the knockout phase. Beyond that, the soccer gods will tell us what happens. But I think 2026, you've got some promising young talent. There's quite a bit on this roster that's not quite seasoned enough yet. We talked about Gio Reyna. If listeners remember Claudio Reyna back from the early 2000s, that's his son. Who probably is a little bit better than his old man, actually, or at the very least has a chance to be. So there's some really, really good talent, but a lot of it's teenage. I mean, a lot of it hasn't even hit 20 yet. So, I think getting to the World Cup, giving them that experience, helping them see the level is a no-brainer. They've got to be there. Beyond that, I think, like you say, 2026 it seems like forever away, but that's when we're looking at to see this team really make a breakthrough.
Well, I would think it's just an American issue of if we're going to compete in something, we should be the best at it, right? Like that's what we think. But it's not realistic to think that based on American men's soccer now. I think we're probably applying, well, the women win all the time and the men don't. Sure. Why can't we do that thing? So it's good to hear you kind of explain it out to people listening going, why is the U.S. not even close to contending for the whole World Cup? We're happy now just to kind of get in and grow, aren't we?
Yeah, and, I think that's probably a baseline reason why it isn't more popular. U.S. fans are, let's face it, we're slow. I mean, we have the best leagues in hockey, in basketball, and those two sports in particular are global sports. Baseball certainly maybe to a little bit lesser extent. But those are global sports. And, Spanish basketball players watch Luka Doncic play in Madrid, and like, we can't hold on to them. He's going to go to the better league. And we take that for granted here. We watch the league that he came to, the league everybody wants to go to. And I think that bleeds into the national team as well, where we watch the product on the field and it's not the best. And I think some American fans, you just get used to watching, the LeBron Jameses of the world because everybody wants to come here, even though it's all the international players. So I think that's a bit of a shift. And so you go to you look at our domestic league, MLS. I think the American fans, obviously won't tune in as much because you watch the Premier League on TV. Why would you watch MLS? So I think the nationalism part is really what carries it, where we see, okay, well, we can come together every now and then, wave our flags, wear our, George Washington wigs, and get rowdy. And I think the in-between parts, in between the cycles, I think that's where U.S. soccer still needs to grow. And, hey, they missed the World Cup in 2018. It was the first time they did that in 30 years. So it's on them, frankly, to win back the fans and to prove that they're worthy to watch at the end of the day.
Will Parchman, The Athletic, soccer. Always great to talk to you, Will. Glad you're doing so well at UTA, and come and visit us in Waco sometime, man. I've even forgotten what you looked like.
Hey, we'll come down for a Baylor game. We'll see all you guys.
Looking forward to it. Great, thanks, Will. Will Parchman, right. Sick of 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Back after this.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
We have bounced around today from Sweet 16 that starts in less than 30 minutes or so in the opening game with Arkansas and Gonzaga. We have also discussed, well, the rest of what's going on in sports, including the hiring of Jerome Tang, and heard from Gene Taylor on that, plus the Big 12. And a lot of the other stories that Craig mentioned off the radar. I got a couple of notes here, and I know, Paul, there's some other stories. The Deshaun Watson, let's update what's going on with that. Deshaun Watson, as we know, now with the Cleveland Browns, was not indicted by the grand jury in Houston. So you think that's over, right? Now there's civil suits, whatever else. And now a second grand jury hearing or whatever had to go.
Yeah. In Brazoria County, by the way, their DA's name is Tom Selleck, so that's kind of weird. But they've also declined to charge him. So, again, shedding even less light on this. So we know Deshaun Watson's going to play football at some point, depending on when the NFL chooses to suspend him. If they do it all, bearing the results of some of these civil cases, some of which I'm sure will be settled up pretty fast and some that'll probably last for a while.
Yeah, I mean, he's free and clear as far as that goes. And, I'm just very fascinated to see if this is another Cleveland Browns move.
Like in terms of just like tangling up the franchise and making the absolute wrong decision. Like as a player, I mean, we haven't seen him in a year. I'm sure he'll be fine. But, you know, and the legal troubles seem to be, you know, kind of dissipating because this is mostly going to come down to just, you know, him paying some money probably. So it's a good news that he's got this $230 million guaranteed. But geez Louise, a dude who just came off of a year away, you gave him $230 million guaranteed money. Like, that's just insane to me. Now, if he plays the way he used to play, then that'll probably be well worth it for the Cleveland Browns. But I don't know. Just the fact that it's Cleveland gives me some pause that this is going to just turn into an absolute train wreck because that's what happens to those franchises. Like, if he had signed with the Steelers, it'd be like, oh, my gosh, they're going to probably win Super Bowls. The fact that it's Cleveland just makes me think it's going to turn into a massive dumpster fire at some point. But, I mean, give them credit for, you know, just going all in with it. And, you know, this is one less worry for them now with this court decision. But, yeah, I'm fascinated to see how it plays out for all of the parties involved on the field, and I don't know what's next off the field, but, you know, that's going to linger as well.
Armstrong, I just sent you an email, part of the Jerome Tang press conference from earlier today, involving Scott Drew, Jerome Tang, and a bottle of wine. That's a great story. I want to run that if we can. Paul's top 5 around the corner. Yeah. Paul, Craig, you mentioned that I asked you about this as well. Jorge Masvidal, he was booked on an aggravated battery, criminal mischief charges, and he actually did apparently punch Colby Covington in the mouth and also his left eye, and Covington suffered even a broken tooth. So that's an updated story on the UFC star and Jorge Masvidal and Covington, who had beaten him recently.
Yeah, when I met Jorge Masvidal on Radio Row, it was in Miami. That's where he's from, and he was a cool dude. Him and Kamaru Usman had a little dust-up that was very, you know, UFC fighter-ish in the Radio Row area, which got a lot of attention, but it almost felt kind of like a staged thing, and I don't know if it was or not. They had a lot of UFC fighters that were rolling through there. But, yeah, Masvidal, I mean, he's a guy who's, you know, popular. He's got a lot of fans, but he hasn't quite, you know, reached that mountaintop. When he's had his opportunities, he's fallen short. And, you know, he and Covington have a bitter, you know, little rivalry, obviously personal rivalry going on as well. And so, yeah, they got into it down in Miami, and apparently Covington had insulted Masvidal's children, and then Masvidal punched him as a result. And then, you know, what the fallout was a fallout as far as broken tooth and all that. But, yeah, facing criminal charges. So, you know, we'll see what happens. It's kind of surprising to see more UFC fighters getting into dust-ups like this, quite honestly, or getting, you know, involved in battery stuff. They're usually pretty careful about that, though. But, yeah, it's you know, it's an interesting little storyline they got going on, and hopefully it doesn't turn into too much of a legal situation.
All right, this is Jerome. You want to add something to that?
No. Armstrong, after this, we have to play the video I sent you earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here is, we've played a couple audio clips. Jerome Tang earlier today he was introduced as the head coach at Kansas State, and we had Gene Taylor on soon after that, the AD. Here is Jerome Tang. I never heard this story. We've heard most of them about the ribs and about driving to Waco and all the things that those two did early on and how Scott Drew recruited Jerome Tang. Here's a story that Jerome Tang told today in his opening and introductory press conference in Manhattan.
When Coach found out I got the job, he came over that night, and he brought with him a bottle of wine that someone had given him in 2003 when he took the job at Baylor. And they told him, I want you to drink this when you want to celebrate something that's really, really great. Well, we won an NIT championship, we went to Sweet 16s, went to 2 Elite 8s, went to a Final Four in a national championship, then won the Big 12 again, and that bottle was still closed. But when I got this job, he came over with his wife to open that with me. See, those kind of ties, those deep bonds that take colleagues to become friends and then to become brothers for life, that's what we're going to do here. I plan to be at your weddings. I plan to send you something for when your first son or daughter is born. I will have the picture up in my refrigerator and in my office. The kind of bonds that are not broken when you change colors. The kind of bonds that are not broken by distance or time. And Scott Drew, he's a terrific man, but I expect you students to give him a hard time when they come here.
As if it wasn't hard enough to win in the Octodome, what do you call it, the Octagon, right? No.
The Octagon of Doom.
Yeah, Octagon. Yeah. So I'd never heard that story about the bottle of wine. And it took Jerome Tang getting his first opportunity, despite all the other success, before Scott Drew decided he wanted to open up and share a bottle of wine.
Yeah, that is a very Scott Drew story. I mean, it's
I got goosebumps
yeah.
when I just heard him starting to talk about that story.
Yeah, it's another example, too, of why to just completely avoid social media, because I looked at that tweet earlier, and the first response was, bottles of wine don't last 20... You know, it's like, shut up and quit being an idiot. Just don't comment. Just shut up.
Don't people keep, like, old bottles of wine? And
wine can last up to 20 years, because I saw that, and I was like, I wonder how long it can last, and it says anywhere from 1 to 20 years. So I don't know, but it's kind of like the thought that counts. You know, that's kind of the point of the story, is the thought behind it, not the freshness of the wine. Golly, people are morons.
Yeah, but I mean, there's people, like, there's whole wine businesses where people, like, open old casks of wine from hundreds of years ago and taste it. So
no, and I not to pay attention to that, but I was just like, it made me laugh and also just sigh at the same time when I saw that. I was like, of course.
Oh my God,
somebody had to make it about something entirely, like, not that it's a big deal at all. But.
Yeah, and that's, you're right. It's a great story. It was about friendship and what was important, and yet even then, Scott Drew is on the TBS set with the various others as far as the pregame shows and all that's going on. Again, the first game tips off at 6:09 today. Gonzaga in their opening game. Godly, I'm gone blank against Arkansas. I got the damn list right here in front of me. And Scott Drew is a part of TBS, and CBS has, of course, Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley and Ernie Johnson, and I love them. I know sometimes people get a little frustrated because I love them. To me, it is the best studio show, bar none, that I think I've ever watched, and it's because they don't take themselves too seriously, and yet they can break down a damn game.
I mean, they can. I think the complaints where people come from is, they want hardcore college basketball knowledge, and it's very clear that these are some guys who just started watching this week when the tournament started, like Charles in particular. And I think that's any criticism that you hear, it's that they clearly jumped on, as the tournament started and started paying attention. But outside of that, that critique, it's valid. We heard a lot of that with, what's his name? Chapman. We heard a lot of different complaints, but I think mostly with the TNT guys, it's just that, clearly the NBA is their thing, and they kind of jump onto the college basketball train a little late. But yeah, in terms of entertainment, there's nobody better, and even then, it's not like they're completely void of any knowledge either. It's that's just a small critique, but they're great. They're the best in the business.
There is on the chat room, people are skewering Rex Chapman and a lot of his comments, and a couple of them who don't like Candace Parker. Who I thought has been okay. I haven't really listened to much of them as well, but appreciate a lot of the text and chat going on today as well. Paul?
We have an important anniversary today, guys.
It's April the 6th?
March 24th, 2001. The date of the greatest sports blooper in the history of sports bloopers. Absolute greatest sports blooper ever.
Oh!
Here it is in slow-mo.
This is awful.
That video quality.
Yeah.
It's like VHS.
I mean, think about just of all the coincidences that happen in the world, that bird decided to dart through that field at that moment.
With him pitching.
And met his end.
Yeah, with the guy that throws it faster than anyone ever until Chapman came along or whatever his name. Yeah, wonder, that bird was on his way home, probably had a bottle of wine, waiting for his mama bird and a couple of chiclets, and he's gone.
I'll say this. If you're at that guy's funeral and you say, hey, how did Bill die? You're like, well, I mean, a lot of birds, he got caught up in power lines or, didn't get out of the way of a car when it was moving, it was eating, or choked on something, ate some rice, bad stuff. But at least at his funeral, that's a better story.
Yeah, that's a hell of a way to go. Randy Johnson pitch straight at. I mean, yeah, like the timing of that, and it's wild. Yeah, it's wild that happened. I don't even I wonder what the chances are of something like that even happening. I mean, for the pitch to be the perfect speed, the bird speed, all in that one piece of space, an entire open air setting, for that all to just accumulate into that moment. Yeah, that's a wild highlight. It kind of reminds me of this video I saw the other day that was terrible. There's this guy who I don't know what the proper term for it is, but he basically handles hawks, right? Handles those birds. And I guess they were filming something for a TV segment or something. They were out in this open field. It looked like it was England. And there was a roadway next to them, but it was kind of far away. So I guess they're filming this segment, and the hawk trainer, he's got his bird out, and it's, all right, let's let it fly. And I don't know what the purpose of it was. There was no background to it, but he lets it go, and the hawk or falcon goes flying. I guess a falconer?
Yes, falconer.
Yeah, falconer. Yeah, it's a falconer. He lets the bird go, and they're watching it, and pretty soon they're like, wait a second, uh-oh. And the bird's going straight for the roadway. It got all these other places to fly, and it goes straight for the roadway, and then and then boom, 18-wheeler, bird feathers fly, and the look on this man's face, he just watched his child.
I've met back when I did an outdoor show on the radio with our friend Jeff Richer. He brought in a guy who was, I think he had a hawk. He would hunt birds with another bird with a predator bird, and
a vulture.
That's a carrion bird. Like a hawk or a falcon or whatever. He had a hawk, and the bond between that bird and those guys is pretty tight. Yeah. Although I don't know if the bird feels that way, but the guy certainly does.
I love the bald eagle and how the majestic look of a bald eagle. And when my mom and dad down in Florida, we drive around sometimes, and there was an area that was kind of a park, and they'd have a couple of bald eagles in the same area, and I'd always look up in the trees, and it was always, my mom would go, yeah, look at that, and I just think about how amazing they are.
Yeah, they're pretty nasty birds. They can be pretty mean, but they are cool looking birds, and. Yeah, that's cool seeing those falconers and what they're able to do. But this poor man, the amount of years he probably put into training this thing, and the moment he just lets it go, it just goes flying straight for an 18-wheeler like it was on a suicide mission or something. It was wild to watch that. And he was a broken man within seconds.
Randy Johnson, he should be in prison.
No.
I'm kidding.
No.
Some people thought he probably should be. Earlier in the show, we mentioned Madison Square Garden. I brought up it was the Mecca. It's not anymore, but it always will be thought of it because of what the NIT was well before the NCAA became popular, and they played those games in Madison Square Garden. And it's very special. Paul and I went there to cover Baylor against South Carolina. They eventually won the NIT there. Baylor did. Inside Madison Square Garden, but we were there. It's unbelievable because of all the other events, not just basketball, but it was well before the NIT was it, and that's why it's been called the Mecca. It's been renovated many times, but there may be many others that are ahead of it now.
I don't know. I think it's still number one. I mean, yeah, you might have some kids who want to play at Barclays Center or the shinier, newer arenas, but in terms of playing at Madison Square Garden, I don't care if they built it back up from scratch or whatever they did. Just being on that holy ground of Madison Square Garden in that arena it's a big deal for a lot of people. I've only seen it from the outside. When we went to New York one time, I was only able to catch a glimpse of it from the outside. But I would love nothing more than go to a Knicks game or something like that there. I wouldn't. I'd go for anything, but I would in particular want to have that local flavor of a Rangers game or a Knicks game or something like that. So I think it's still Mecca. Yeah,
New York Rangers, New York Knicks. They've hosted the conventions, presidential, national conventions. They've hosted Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali. Name them.
Yeah. The best interview we did was a kid who worked there. Huh? We had that kid that worked there.
Yeah, we did a show inside Madison Square Garden. Yeah. We're kind of tucked around this office area.
They put it in his offices. Yeah. It was kind of weird. But, we found this kid that worked there and said, "You want to come on the radio?" And he talked about all the cool stuff he's gotten to see doing the job. He'd worked his way up to several jobs.
He was really a nice guy, no question. Elton John once held the all-time record for greatest number of appearances, once called the Madison Square Garden venue my favorite venue in the whole world. I chose to have my 60th birthday concert there. Eventually, Billy Joel broke that record, called Madison Square Garden the center of the universe as far as I am concerned. Acoustics and the audiences, the reputation and history, among many other things as well. When we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5 to wrap up this Thursday.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Go to Champions on Saturday morning. And yes, Snooki, I know that I'm due. You don't have to say it.
Like I shouldn't ask you why?
Why? I mean, no. You should not. Look, here's what I know about The Bachelor. I'll answer the Bachelorette question.
Yeah,
so,
the chat room is roasting you.
Amanda and I were watching television one night, and I dozed off in my chair. And then I woke up, and it was the finale of The Bachelor. And, then right when I woke up, they said there's going to be 2 Bachelorettes. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Good for those dudes, I guess.
How have you watched them?
No.
Will you?
It's just that, no, I know.
Well, good luck to Kirk Bryant on whatever show he ends up on.
Yeah.
From Mike Games, Paul's man card is now suspended 3 months for admitting he watched The Bachelorette.
I watched about 15 minutes of it. Yeah.
You watched it. And then also hates Kenny Chesney and Maroon 5, but watches The Bachelorette.
Hey,
and then
I give him his man card for he admitted he did. He watched.
Thank you.
He's fearless. He's also petrified not to admit it.
Yeah. I mean, it was what it was. They've had
he likes what he likes.
They've had 700 Bachelorette seasons, and I've managed to watch very little of that tripe until, I woke up and it was on, and what was I supposed to do? Like, not in this house. No, I mean, just kind of roll with it.
There was a time.
There was a time where I had control. I was the boss. I'm not anymore. Top 5 NFL teams that have improved so far in free agency. And look, I realize that this is just on paper for the most part. And I'll start out by saying number 5 is the Raiders, and I picked this over the Broncos for the simple fact that I like the Chandler Jones signing just a little bit more than I like Randy Gregory. The Raiders went out and got, I know it's not free agency, but it's a trade, Devontae Adams. This was a playoff team a year ago. In spite of everything that happened, I like what they have going on offense. I like what they have going on defense. I think the Raiders, and that's going to be a tough division for all 4 of those teams. That's going to be maybe the most fun one to watch in all of football, in that, the Chiefs have gotten a little bit worse and everybody else has gotten a little bit better, and it's going to be raucous in the AFC
Incredible
West.
Division. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You're the Raiders. You've made all these moves, and are you even in a better position than you were?
Yeah.
I mean, really, are you? You're a better team, but have you gotten better than the other teams in your division? I don't know that you have, but you've definitely gotten better. And yeah, Devontae Adams, I mean, that was a huge move. Very surprising. I know there was some scuttlebutt prior to that, especially they're probably talking about it in Green Bay and Las Vegas more so, but that still seemed like a little bit of a bombshell when it dropped. So great target for Derek Carr. I know the whole college teammate thing, but, does that mean that they're going to be like Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams? I'm not sold on that.
Well, I mean, because Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr is Derek Carr.
Yeah, so they'll still be good, but I don't think it's going to be Rodgers Adams 2.0 necessarily, no matter if they went to elementary school together. But, yeah, Chandler Jones was another good one, and they've been very active. So, yeah, I think the Raiders made some good moves and shored up a big playmaker, which was even more necessary after the Henry Ruggs situation. So I'm curious to see what they do in the draft to kind of flesh it out some more, but I've liked what the Raiders have done.
I like those weapons that Derek Carr has in Waller, Adams, and Hunter Renfro's great. Hunter Renfro's fun to watch, man. Really like that guy, even though he did go to Clemson.
No, he's very, very good.
Yeah, he's very good. Number 4, the Bills. The Bills have made some other smaller signings, O.J. Howard at tight end, but the big one was, look, why are the Bills not talking about being the AFC champions right now? It's because in the moment where they needed to get to Patrick Mahomes, they could not. So what do? Go get a guy who's gotten after Patrick Mahomes in the past, and Von Miller, who, in spite of being in his 30s, is still a very effective player. Plug and play in that defense. I really liked, look, what's our problem? Let's go solve it. And they did that.
Yeah, they did. I mean, that was a massive move. And, from all the places to go, I think that's what you got to be excited about if you're the Bills, is that, when would a free agent like him choose the Buffalo Bills?
It's been a long time.
When would that typically happen? So I think that speaks volumes about where they are, where they're headed, what people think of Josh Allen, what people think of the coaching, and what people just think. Yeah, I think the fan base plays a lot into it too. I think guys know that Buffalo's got a rabid fan base that loves their Buffalo Bills, and so I loved, got kind of used to not seeing them involved in it. Sort of like growing up, I kind of began to despise the Bills because I got tired of them. It's like every year, like you just go and lose in the Super Bowl. It's like, let me see something new and different. But, then they went away for a while for, the most part. And to see them there doing their thing and with the way that Josh Allen's able to do his thing is pretty cool. So, yeah, definitely rooting on the Bills to continue on this journey. But they've made themselves better for sure.
Still one of the greatest endings of a game in just the wildfire of that ending between the Bills and Chiefs I think I could ever remember.
Yep. Number 3, the Colts. And this is really just to me based on one move. This is a team I thought was on the cusp last year, and then their quarterback situation kind of hurt them. Look, they get rid of Carson Wentz and get a haul that's way more than Carson Wentz is worth, and then bring in a veteran quarterback who's still pretty good, Matt Ryan, who is not there's no differing opinion on Matt Ryan in the locker room. Everybody likes Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's a leader. Carson Wentz, between front office, locker room, coach, nobody's on the same page about him wherever he goes. Matt Ryan is that guy, and should they get him another weapon or two, I really like the Colts to push the Titans for that division title.
Well, it's a good thing that Carson Wentz is going to a stable organization, then. That'll work out really well for him.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things where dysfunctional people are attracted to each other.
If they had not gotten him, where would they be with their quarterback?
Same exact place.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They still would have missed on some of these.
But where are they with him? We don't even know. They might be the exact same. And so what was the point? I mean, that's the thing is he going to be better than what they've had? I mean, it'd be hard not to be, quite frankly. If anything, they've been, punching above their weight at quarterback at times. So, I mean, Wentz, Yeah, I'm really curious to see what he does. But I liked it, the Colts. I mean, it was clear that was not a fit anymore, and they needed to move on. So they moved on. They moved on in a major way. And, maybe Matty Ice can get himself a Super Bowl ring. Lord knows he did everything but get it sized up a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So, that'll be interesting to follow.
Yeah. Number 2, the Browns. And look, Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper, getting a backup in Jacoby Brissett who can hold water for you and probably win some games while you're waiting. And look, if Baker Mayfield's not your guy, spinning him off for draft picks is fine. I'm a Baker Mayfield believer, and I think he can be a winning quarterback in the right situation, which is probably going to be Seattle. Right now. So if that's what happens, I think that can work out for him. I think Baker can win. If you commit to building around Baker, the Browns obviously got, stars in their eyes about Deshaun Watson and made this gigantic deal. And, right now you got to say that, it's a jump. Deshaun Watson's a better player than Baker Mayfield is. Amari Cooper's a better wide receiver than anybody that they had there. And their defense has still got some pretty good guys on it. So,
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's Cleveland, so I'm almost waiting for it to just end disastrously. But, I mean, if Deshaun Watson is even close to what he was a couple of years ago when he was still a fan favorite and not dealing with all these issues, then, I mean, that's a massive upgrade, in my opinion, over Baker Mayfield. Amari Cooper, I think he can be a little – I don't want to call him flaky. He's different, man. He's a little different. Maybe being in a smaller media market like Cleveland, not that it's tiny or anything, but compared to the Cowboys and just how much that's beating over our heads, maybe that'll help him out. But yeah, I mean, you go get Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper, and they've made a couple of other moves, not nearly as high profile, but that alone should get you excited for the Browns and seeing what their new look is next year.
And number 1, the Miami Dolphins. Look, when you say Tyreek Hill, Teron Armstead, some of the other stuff, I'm a big Cedric Wilson fan, so I like getting guys like that on my team, even though that's not going to register in the, Tyreek Hill thing. But Raheem Mostert, who's a favorite of your new coach, you've got those Chase Edmonds, who's a player they've improved dramatically at running back, is something they needed to do. They have taken away every excuse they have except the quarterback, or for the quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa. So, Tua's now got the weapons, and Miami can maybe make a playoff run in an AFC East. It's going to be tough with a good Patriots team and a really good Bills team in there.
So if Tua doesn't perform up to standard, they got Teddy Bridgewater at least, right, to back him up. So that'll be a nice option to have. But yeah, I mean, all eyes are on Tua now. The complaint, or some of the complaints were, not having enough around him, or the coaching, or what have you. They made the big coaching move. I know that a lot of people have had fun at the expense of, or not at the expense of, but have had fun with what does Brian Flores think right now as they're going out and trading for Tyreek Hill and signing Teron Armstead and doing all these different things? I do. I am curious to know what he thinks about all of that. But
if I were him, I'm thinking I've clearly affected them. Because if he's accusing them of throwing things, they need to. What this is pay no attention to that. Look at we got Tyreek Hill now, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean the Hill move alone was a big time blockbuster move for Miami. So yeah, they're in it to win it. I mean, they've been very active, and they've been, like you have them at number one. I mean, I think a lot of people would say they probably headlined what has been one of the most remarkable NFL free agency periods. So yeah, a lot of credit to the Fins for going for it. And now the big question is just, is it enough? And is Tua the guy? I mean, you don't want to call it too early because he's only been in the league a couple of years and he's also had injury issues. But, you kind of are at a point where you need to find out sooner rather than later if this is the dude that you're building everything around the next few years.
And I didn't include the Broncos on this list, although I love Russell Wilson going there. I think he's got a lot of weapons. He's going to win. But he was the one move I liked. And Randy Gregory I kind of liked. But, Russell Wilson's the only one I really like there.
Okay. I was going to ask you about them. Mm-hmm. The Valdez-Scantling signing by the Chiefs is not going to replace Tyreek Hill. But one thing he did do with Green Bay was average 17.5 yards per catch since he entered the NFL.
They don't need him to be Tyreek Hill necessarily.
But that does help stretch a little bit of the field. And he had some issues at times with drops or whatever.
No drops last year, though.
The Sweet 16 tips off in about 5 minutes. Hope you enjoy it. Gonzaga off the top with Arkansas. And we'll be back here tomorrow to kind of break it all down and look ahead to the set of 4 games tomorrow for Emory Winter. Jack McKenzie was here earlier as well. And Armstrong Sims, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak. Thank you to our incredible sponsors from start to finish as we close in on year number 2, April the 6th. And you on the chat room, the calls, the text, and more every day when we can get to them. I'm David Smoak. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.